Hey, hey, hey! Back again on Sunday night for Sunday night. What have I titled it? Hang on, I had a name for it. Hang on. Sunday Shindigs. I like that. It's a very old saying that my granddad used to say, actually, shindig. Right, let's say a few hellos to some of the people that are already in the chat. We have Helen Degenerates. Nice to see you. And Amanda Young. Both of you are my channel members, so you're very much welcome here. And YouTube, Ian Matteson. We have Brian Shuker. Yes, you can. Can you give me a call tomorrow? Because I know what you've been working on. You've been working on that plumb bob test, so hopefully we'll get something sorted there. Bill G, nice to see you in. Hopefully we'll do an entertaining show. Jimbo, Shills versus Shills. Sky Free, nice to see you in. If nobody's subscribed to Sky Free, highly recommend you subscribe over there because it's an awesome channel. The Mies Kang, nice to see you in. Right the Hand, Sunday Shenanigans. If you want to hop on the panel, mate, by all means jump on. And we have Paul Rusin as well. So welcome one and all. So we are joined by F Evangelist. How is it going?
Ramsey, I'm good, mate. I'm just worried my mic's clicking in and out a bit. I'm in the car, so if I'm causing any audio trouble, let me know.
Okay, let's see if I can sort your levels out. One sec. Let's go over here.
I'm just seeing. I'm not talking, but I'm still clicking on and off, and I just hope I'm not making noises at your end.
It's not too bad. You are clicking a little bit, but it's all right for the time being. All right for the time being.
Okay. Once you got someone else to talk to in here, I'll just go on mute until I need to say something.
Sure, no worries. Well, to be honest, I've been looking at this Tommy Gronfeld and some of his work. So I'll pop this over on here and I'll show this to the audience, and we'll see if we can make head nor tail of it. So, are you watching? Are you able to watch the stream, or do you just want me to play it without sharing it for you?
Yeah, you talk, because technically I probably should be looking out the windscreen at the moment, so I'll keep doing that.
Yeah, that would be recommended, mate. Right, okay, let's get on with this. So, we have. Hang on, let me just pop you on mute for just a second there.
Sure.
There we go. Mute. There we go. Perfect. Right. Okay. So, obviously, you guys will have known that a couple of days ago I went on Fight the Flat Earths, and the question posed to me whilst I was out, or one of the questions posed, was to do with the eye line and the turbines in the distance. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about on this particular video, and I have only just started looking at it about an hour ago, so I'm only partially through with my research on it. So let's have a look at something that this guy says way back here about this boat. This is quite funny. So I'm going to play this portion of the boat. Pin your ears back to what he's got to say.
Color magic. I didn't expect that one, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta be lucky. That's going to Denmark, and I'm not gonna lie, there is some distortion, but I've seen worse, and there's no distortion in hell that can explain this.
Oh yes there is. Oh yes there is. There's no distortion in hell that can explain this, was his exact words. Right, so basically his argument is that the blue's gone on the boat. So he's going to claim that because the colour blue has been bleached out from the image, that this is unexplainable on a flat plane. Right, so just listen here.
Because now all the blue is gone. The bottom is gone.
Oh, I take it back. He says the bottom has gone. Anyone would think he's trying to claim a bit of Earth curve there. Well, the devil's in the detail, so they say. So let's just go back a tad.
Sometimes you just...
Let's put him on mute now. when he goes on to talk about this little bit of distortion. Right, so this is the interesting part here. First and foremost, he says there's a little bit of distortion here. Well, see, that's the start of things. This boat is not just going to the right, it's going further away, right? So it looks as if it's going from left to right, which it somewhat is, but it's also going further away. And what you're seeing here is this bleeding down, this refraction down, this sinking effect already starting on the name of the boat. Now, the name of the boat is called the colour line, I think it's called. And the bottom of this, the white, is being pulled down, it's being stretched, it's being dragged towards the floor. Right. Now, then he also goes on to show the colour being totally bleached out on this boat. Now, I filmed this 150 times. Maybe 200 times, who knows, it's a lot of times that I've filmed this, and I'm going to bring up these series of images here. So let's start over here. So here I've taken a screenshot, obviously, of the boat. Here I've cropped it out. This was the boat when it just had a little bit of the sag down on the wordings, and all I've done then is, as best as possible, was to scale the boat. Right, so that's all that's needed to be done here. So I've scaled it to the part of the boat here that's the front. You can see this area here. I wonder if I can highlight that actually so that you guys can see. There's a part of the boat that sticks out there at the front, and there's the same part is there. And I've put the line running down to line that up. And there's also a part over here. Can you see this white? I don't know what you call it. This white area. It's like a reflected, something that's reflecting off the back of it, and it's also down here, and I've pretty much scaled that up to best I can too. And the reason that you have to do that is because no matter how many times I tried to make it scale using these parts at the top, it wouldn't scale properly because there was some parallax going on with the boat. So I decided to just try and get it as best as I could. And what do you know, when I get the same scale boat with all the wording still visible on it, and I lay it on the ocean like so, well, what do you know? There is nothing missing of the boat. It's very simple. There is nothing missing. You can see that there is nothing missing on the boat once you actually take this image that's been scaled and you move it and you place it on a line to see whether or not actually any of it did go behind Earth curve. And no, none of it went behind Earth curve. What happened was all this area here, all this bleaching out that happened, all that bleaching out area here that got rid of the blue, you could see that that was starting to be an effect up here when he showed us this. You could see that that was already starting to happen. And all that's happened is that the boat's gone further away. It's gone into that very critical angle that allows you to get this sinking effect, and all the white that's at the top of the boat here, all this white part here, right, all this white part, right, has dragged down over the blue. That's all that's happened. All this white part has dragged down over the blue. Can that be proven? Absolutely it can, because what you're going to see here, you're going to see these windows, for instance. Can you see this window here? If I crop that window out there, or get something similar to size and then bring it down here, you can already see the amount of additional window that's being dragged down from the top regions. So you can already see that that window's being dragged down. The same with this over here. If I was to crop out this part over here, like so. So there we've got the window cropped out over here, and we place it over the window here. Again, what you're seeing is this window being stretched and pulled down. So all that's happened, all that's happened is that the atmospherics on the day gave you this phenomena of dragging down by refraction the colours. Very simple, and that's why you were no longer able to see the bottom of the boat, the blue part, and to just claim that it's just disappeared due to Earth curve is highly, highly disingenuous. Just shows that whoever this guy is, this Gronfeld guy, clearly hasn't done much research into this kind of thing. And I told him that yesterday when I debated him, and unfortunately this is just an example of his poor research skills. That's all I can say about that. Right. Who else have we got? We've got nobody joining. Nobody joining. There's just F.E. Evangelist and me. There must be other people that wish to join tonight. Must be. F.E. Evangelist, are you still there, pal?
Yes, I am, mate. It's a bit lonely in the old chat room here, but
yeah, it is. It's Sunday night. I mean,
I love. Yeah, it is Sunday. It's Monday morning for me. Like I couldn't see what you were seeing, but I was listening to it, and I mean, these sort of images that you're talking about. I'm sure either side of the fence can just grab one image and create a story around it, but it's when you get that consistent, like where you go to, there's a Blackpool Tower, and you can constantly see what you shouldn't be able to see, allegedly. It's much more of a picture than just a boat on a day. There's so many consistent landmarks that can be viewed and photographed and filmed over and over again. That's where they just fall apart, I reckon.
Well, I'm going to do the basic research. I'm going to talk about the basic research that I did on his wind turbines. Hi, Gleam, by the way. Nice to see you in, mate. Did you go and debate fight the flat Earth? Because I know you was intending on it. You
2 seconds, sorry, I'm juggling my mic. No, I didn't. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
I didn't. I went in there and I said, right, I'm ready for you. I'll come in with Spurs on the last section with Spurs. And he literally said to me, no, this seems to be going okay. I'm going to leave it as it is for now, but maybe later, basically suggesting. And I just said, cool. And then it was 2 hours of literal Spurs. So, well, him and that brainy beaver.
Right. Okay.
But trust me, I know Tommy Gromvold. Just to put you in the picture, who he is. He was one of the original tag-alongs with Soundly on the bridge.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
He's an old schooler, and trust me, he does not have a clue. Put it this way, I listened to your premiere today, and oh my god, when you put across a point, it was hilarious for Fight the Flat Earth to go, right, I'm gonna bring my professional in. Tommy, are you there? Number one, he complete fail. He had a muted mic. But two, he comes in and his best argument is, you had no measurements. And he does not know who he's talking to. And I was shocked for you. I was like, you what?
I honestly expected a challenge. It was obviously, if anybody's watched the premiere before, you'll see the whole interaction. So we got bounced around from a few different subjects, and I wasn't going to let them try and pigeonhole me with one answer for one question. So it could have been shoaling for one, which is a very observable thing. On another thing, you might have some kind of sinking effect that's going on. Obviously, each observation is different. Every observation needs different research. And to know that, when they claimed that the 80 foot of this boat was missing, I was like, dude, I've already I researched this like a year ago or something like that. And I am pretty sure that it was about 25 feet of that boat that was missing. And he said, no, it was 80 feet. I was like, okay. Well, anyway, I had to come back in and correct them on that. But yeah, they didn't understand the very, very basics of anything. They didn't understand any kind of fluid dynamics. They tried to sort of like pin some kind of soundbite off of me when I say that water doesn't find its level. Well, that isn't the case. And I actually said it in the stream. I said, look, if you've got energy being inputted into the water, it won't be level. So, in other words, if you've got tides, if you've got movements, if you've got wind driving it or anything, it's going to not be level. It's going to be wobbly and humpy, and it's going over all kinds of topography under the water. So, of course, it's going to have an effect. But if you have a puddle, let's say, with no energy inputted into that puddle, or a fish tank or something like that, then of course it's just going to lay flat and level. So, there's kind of like I don't know, like a cherry picking of trying to to get flat earthers to just turn around and say that yes, water is level, because it's demonstrably that it's not. Water moves, and as soon as water starts to move, it starts to not be level. A wave isn't level, nothing like that. So,
and everyone understands that, but the globe earthers. That's the funniest. They're like, "Oh, we've caught you out because of a wave." I'm sure Professor Phil done it one time, and he looked at the camera so chuffed, and it was like, "Oh my God, are you actually thinking that flat earthers are saying it's always flat?" It's as in a wave isn't actually counted in this.
I know, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So yeah, let me just quickly go over this this observation that he's put out about these wind turbines. So this is preliminary. So it's the first things that I've it took me that long to actually even find his location. To be honest, and then find the lighthouse and get everything sorted out. Then I had to find the wind turbines that were in the distance. And yeah, we've got some. He's got some problems. He's got some problems with his observation, and I think it explains it with this sinking effect inside onside a flat plane. And I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, this is the distances involved. Obviously, here's where his observation is. I'm not sharing my screen for you guys. Hang on, I do apologise. I completely forgot them. One sec. Where are we? Share screen, and is this one? There you go. Right, so now you can see. Sorry, now you can follow along. So here's his observation point over here. It's the world's end or something. It's this little car park on the corner here where he's taken the observation from, and it is about 22 meters above sea level. So he's quite accurate with that. And here's the lighthouse, Fayerder Lighthouse, etc. And what I've been able to do is been able to pinpoint one of the wind turbines that are in this observation. And if we come along here and we follow this trajectory, this line over here, what we'll take you to is we'll take you to the wind turbine here. So here's the wind turbine. That's a few of them. The elevation for these isn't that high though. It's only, he claims that it's 100 meters. It's not 100 meters. It's more like 60 meters, which is a problem if you're going to be trying to claim something and the actual height of it is just 60 meters. I mean, you can see this. I've put a side-on view which shows you, firstly, it shows you a very flat water, right? So as the cursor goes across the water, we have a very level water. But anyway, it takes you up to this little bit of an island that's out in there, and that's only like 20 meters high. A little bit further, you go to 39 meters, and then a little bit further on, it ends up where the wind turbines are. But essentially, it is pretty flat here. I mean, 60 meters high elevation over a distance of 56 kilometers. That's pretty flat. But let's put this into the curve calcs and let's have a look what that says. So let's get Metabunk curve calculator. So I'll just show this for the audience. And we're going to put his elevation height in. So let's go to his viewer height, which was 22 meters, and the distance was 56 kilometers. So when you put these calculations in, view height of 22 meters, distance 56 kilometers, even with refraction there should be 100 meters give or take of the land missing in the distance. Now, bearing in mind that these wind turbines are only situated on land that's just 60 meters high, yet with refraction almost 100 meters must be missing, right? And without refraction, obviously, that will be substantially more. Right, but let's go to just 100 meters. So 100 meters with refraction of hidden, which means we should see none of the land. None of the land should be seen, because 40 meters of it must be hidden to Earth curve. Right, so let's look at a screenshot of his image here. So I literally took this just before we went live. So I might need to reshare this screen with you guys so that you can see. So I'll knock that off, stop streaming that, and then I'll reshare this. There we go. Now you can see, because I've just got this up here, we're going to put the wind turbine in question through the ringer. So we're going to crop that to selection. We're going to zoom in here, and here we have the wind turbine. Right now then, oops, there's the wind turbine, there's the land, and there's the ocean at the bottom. So there's the ocean, there's the land, there's the wind turbine. Now, as I say, the land is all, it should all be missing, and 40 meters of the blades, well, of the stem at least, should be missing. So just randomly, I'm just going to put a very random line in there. Whether it's entirely accurate or not, I'm not too bothered about, because ultimately all the land must be gone, along with 40 meters of the turbine, but we're not seeing it. Now I can understand his claim. His claim is that, you know, if he's level with this lighthouse, how come on a flat plane these turbines aren't sort of like, I don't know, up here, let's say, right? Well, that's very easy to explain. It's very easy to explain when you realise that you're actually just looking at a shore to shore. We're seeing the turbine, we're seeing the 60 metres of land beneath it. In fact, we're seeing all of it. So it's just a shore to shore observation with all the turbine, all the land underneath it, and as far as I can tell, all that's happened then in this particular case is it's just had a sinking effect, which is what we go on about. They talk about looming as a glober, that things get loomed up. We say that with the same parameters on a flat plane, things would get be sinking, and this is just a perfect example. There is nothing hidden of this turbine, nothing hidden of the land, and all that's happened is the sinking effect has moved it from, let's say, its original position up here and just lowered it all down, but we've lost none of the data. Nothing's hidden, nothing's dropped behind Earth curve, it's just lowered down. So you said something then, Gleam.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, you don't even need that, though. You don't even need sinking, albeit they did not have a clue. As soon as you mention sinking, it's like, And put it this way, he didn't make any measurements. He didn't take any atmospheric measurements on a vertical scale at either distance. But you don't even need that. So sorry. I think I got 22 meters is.
Yep.
Sorry, I was going off of that screenshot. 22 meters is where the lighthouse black line was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 22 meters.
So he's at 22. That line there is at 22, and therefore he expects that to be at the same distance in the background. But what he's not accounting for is how much is 22 meters of the bottom of the land up to that, because they're about 100 meters each, aren't they? Those big turbine things.
Apparently 200 meters, as far as I could tell from his video.
Yeah. It's including the actual turbines themselves. They're about 60 to 80 or something. But yeah, so how far up would you expect it to be? It would only be a small amount up. It wouldn't expect it to be falling in line with it, hovering up in the air like bloody Rumpus's lighthouse in the background. They would compress, because we all know you're closer to that surface, so that's going to compress sooner than anything above that.
Yeah, they don't understand it. They don't understand that you can't have something that's bigger in the distance that's going to fall below something in the foreground. They can't.
Yeah,
they
that's
can't.
Mars' problem. Yeah, Mars doesn't get it either. But
they really struggle. They really struggle with optics. Really struggle with it.
You've blown it out the water just by showing that bottom part. That alone, just by showing land, any land. And they could say, oh, it's loomed up. And then you say, well, what is the difference between looming up and sinking? They're both just excuses for the same thing of movement, of saying that doesn't match my model, so here's a word that accounts for it. And both of them are equal. Yeah, you've smacked. I mean, Tommy, I don't think is actually worthwhile. He done tutorials on how to use SketchUp, okay, which is a 3D free open source download program which you can get a lot of 3D models on. But he designed a flat Earth model compared with a globe Earth model. And I said, Tommy, you're not representing reality there, mate. Albeit you can actually design SketchUp's camera to a certain extent. The focal lengths and whatnot do not match reality of a camera, let alone a human eye. And he goes, show me. And I goes, right, well, you put a human, you can get a 6-foot human. You put a human 50 miles away and you'll still be able to see him as a dot. Whereas in reality, even using a camera, you wouldn't even be able to see that dot at sort of like 10 miles away. So it doesn't represent reality. It's a computer generated stuff. And he still didn't get it. He just threw his toys out of this pram like he did with you. Oh, you've got no measurements. That is so hilarious. My jaw dropped. I was like, do you actually know who Ranty is?
I had to say to him, I said, look, mate, I said, I mean, you can either believe my measurements or not, because if you've not followed my work, you won't know that I've measured this stuff hundreds of times. I know exactly where I am. I know what I do with the filming. I make sure I'm very precise with everything. I don't, I'm not in this to fudge any numbers or try and hide away from reality. It's to understand reality. In fact, the only people that would make numbers up are people that are not interested in understanding reality, because you've got to answer the hard questions. And this is what it was all about. I mean, I got a lot of stick for a lot of the proofs. A lot of the proofs that are now for flat Earth, I got a lot of stick for them when I was punting these around about the inferior mirage and stuff. I mean, yeah, people didn't get it because they're saying, well, why are you showing globe proofs? Because they didn't understand, And for us, for flat earthers, a lot of the time, refraction was a very sore subject. We didn't like talking about it because we didn't. But it was
an iffy topic. Yeah.
Well, I think it was because they hijacked with me at least, the idea that something can be lifted up behind an Earth curve, right, didn't sit well with me, because I've never seen it myself. I've looked and looked, can't find a real life demonstration of it, really. You can't find it. And the idea with refraction to me always went hand in hand with looming. So if I agreed to refraction, I also agreed to looming. Well, I couldn't do that because I couldn't agree to looming, because I just couldn't, So to me, it was like a very dirty word, the word refraction. It's not anymore, because it kind of just, it scared a lot of us in the beginning to talk about refraction, because it was always the Globers' claims. It was always their proofs. So to tread on their toes and kind of explore it a little bit, it was a tough way to go. And a lot of the old timers, like you say, this Tommy guy, he has absolutely no idea. I mean, the boat, you saw what happened with his boat. The bottom of the boat was missing. We couldn't see it. It was hidden with refraction. It was so obvious. You could see the windows were being dragged down over the blue at the bottom, and it was this that was causing the blockage, and he couldn't understand that.
Seriously, I wouldn't waste your time, because he's one of the ones that when he cannot answer the questions, he'll do exactly what he did. He'll throw his toys out the pram and pretend something. And then when he gets caught out on that, it's again, pretend something else. And you don't want them people in your life. They just waste your time.
I knew what to expect when I went in there. And to be honest, I went in a little bit fiery, but it was mainly just to assert my position that I wasn't going to go in and just be talked over and ridiculed. I was going in there to talk to the 500 people he had watching live, because he had a massive audience. And they're all globe earthers, and if I only get through to one of them, if only one of those people watched what I was presenting and what I was talking about, then I did my job. I went in there and did a good job. I turned one person from being a staunch globe earther to maybe looking into this kind of line of research. So that was the whole point. And I wasn't just going to go in there and just be another guy that he was going to ridicule, because I've seen some of his more recent debates with people, and I don't know where he gets these guys from. I don't know where he picks them up or how he gets them to come on his show, but most of them I've never heard of. Apart from, well, obviously Chemo was on and stuff, but I'm talking about debates he's had in the last 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah, no, I fully understand that. He's hovering around, and put it this way, being a channel with a lot of subs, he gets given a lot of information, as in a lot of other channels that are just starting out and whatnot. I think a lot of these, like Simon Dan and whatnot, do have an endless supply of new flat earthers coming out who are saying the same old kind of ridiculous stuff. You know what I mean? Kind of out there stuff. Who are just getting into it, and similar to Speak Truth and Seek Truth. But the core thing that I found interesting in what you was just saying there is that they just throw it out as in the reason why you didn't want to accept or didn't want to delve deep into refraction and lumen and whatnot, because it kind of gives them a bly. If you imagine though, if I've been there from the start, from when you done that observation, you, Riley, and Nathan and whatnot, and went down there and measured it all. I was there watching that live thing, and isn't it funny how you just all went down there, you all done your calculations, and you said, "Yeah, I can see that because it's flat." Okay, and that was your conclusion, and that was a quick, easy conclusion. Yeah, I see that because it's flat. And it's taken Rumpus a year and a half, a 365-page document, a calculation analysis of ray tracing with his friend, whatever his name is, I can't remember now, consultation with the likes of Andrew Young. You see all the efforts and amount of text, let's say, or amount of explaining he has to do just for that one observation. And it's just so interesting. It's so interesting. Why would you need that much effort if you guys had just basically just gone out there, done physical measurements, and just gone, it's flat. I can see that because it's flat. And that's been Nathan's bullet in his gun for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He goes, I can see the bloody thing because it's there, because it's flat. And to be honest, it's a good ticket.
So I just want to say that we do have Tommy Grunfeld, who's in the chat. I can see that he's lit up my name quite a bit. So it seems that he maybe wants to have a chat with me tomorrow at some point, which I'm more than welcome to do. I mean, this is an open platform for anybody to join. And of course, if you want to have an offline chat, you can do that too. Email me, ranty@rantyflatearth.com. So it's not like I'm hiding from anybody. I'll engage with anybody, especially if you're talking about optics. But I mean, Tommy, if you want to look back at the start of the show when I was talking about the boat that you had, that you said that the blue part was missing, maybe we could start on that. I mean, because when I joined Fight the Flat Earths, it seemed that you wanted to talk about my boat and the inferior mirage on the boat that was filmed and sped up as it disappeared into the inferior mirage. And I was adamant that you guys had to admit that firstly there was an inferior mirage. It took about 5 attempts for you guys to say, right, okay, yes, there was an inferior mirage. It's like, how difficult was that to say? And then, once we got through that, it was pretty easy to see what was going on. You could see the boat sinking into the inferior mirage. And then I showed you another observation that showed what the inferior mirage does and how it blocks things off from the bottom. Game over. My explanation for what happens with boats disappearing when they disappear into the inferior mirage, my explanation has all bases covered. When you're going to turn around and tell me that, we're seeing the bottom of the boat turn from blue to white, therefore it must be going off the Earth curve, then in my honest opinion, that is very poor research on your behalf, because it only took me, 10 minutes of research to prove that none of that boat was actually missing. None of it was behind Earth curve.
So, I mean, you've filmed things that are what we call behind Earth curve. You've seen my imagery from all over the place, dude, and there's no inferior mirage. So why do you continue to say that your boat sank into an inferior mirage, or that there's a 30-foot swell that blocks another boat and lifts one up? And I mean, like, at what point, what could you be provided as far as evidence that would make you be like, oh, whoops, I am wrong about the Earth being flat? Like,
well, let me turn it around on you and ask you, at what point would you turn around and say, at what point all these observations that show shore-to-shore observations isn't being refracted, it's actually just because it's flat?
I don't even know which ones you're referring to. I never see shore to shore. It's usually, oh, well, there's a wave and it blocks it, or whatever. So I'm not really sure which one you're referring to. I've done my own observations that you've seen, and that never has happened. I've been out there throughout the year, and that's never happened. So, I mean, what would make me change my mind? Maybe a model that predicts like the sunrise, sunset, the sun not changing angular size, the star trails, the two celestial points. I mean, just endless stuff. Solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, all this stuff that's just so obvious to everyone else, but you guys just do not accept, still to this day.
Yeah, maybe you just don't accept our explanations. That's the thing.
But everyone has a different explanation. I've never even heard you guys, most of like around your channel, you're just like, how can you prove what your ground is by looking up? So like you guys don't even investigate the star trails or the two celestial points what the sun and the moon are doing. You just don't even do it because you deep down, I think, subconsciously, you know that it debunks your fairy tale. I really think.
Not entirely, because if you actually look back at the past, about 2 months ago, I've been reaching out for somebody that can model how I'm viewing sunsets, and I'm still asking people if they have a program out there to get in touch so that we can get this sorted. I've started talking about the sun, how the sun rises, how the sun sets. It's just that maybe you haven't been watching those shows, but there isn't much more to learn about optics. That's the thing. We've covered all the bases. Everything that you bring up, we can also bring up too. And there comes a time when you've got to turn around and say, well, show us your proof of looming first, because we can prove everything else. We can prove the rest of it. That's what this research has been doing. Brandon Toy's research, for instance, the ones that he's been doing in the tank, absolutely demonstrated why things disappear from the bottom up in a density gradient. Now, as I say, so you've got to, the ball's now in your court, guys, to show us this proof of looming.
I've actually showed you one of my, not time lapses, but it was an actual video at the Great Salt Lake. I'm pretty sure I've showed you where things are getting loomed up. There's buildings that you can't see, but then as the sun, basically the temperature changes because it's starting to set, things are being brought up from beyond the horizon.
That's the other way around. At night time, when everything's nice and settled and it's nice and cool, you get the shore-to-shore observations. Nothing's being loomed up, and then as the heat warms up and goes through the day, and then it goes into the late afternoon and the early evening, you've got all this hodgepodge of stuff that's messing around with things. And then when the atmosphere settles down again and it gets towards sunset, your things start to calm down again and they return to their original position. Nothing was loomed up, Timmy. You've got it the wrong way around. You've started from the wrong premise.
So you're saying when I have a video literally showing that there are buildings that start to be able to be seen and start waving around, I have it backwards, but you have it
Yes, correct. Yeah. In fact, I've got another observation. One of your guys put it to me. Anyway, I played it in slow reverse, and what do you know? Perfect. From nighttime to daytime, exactly as you'd expect. When the sun comes out and it starts making a difference, starts churning the water up, start getting the heat starting to evaporate the water, all that stuff in the atmosphere that starts happening once the sun starts to rise, all messes everything up. Nighttime, when you've got beautiful, beautiful ambience between everything, you just see a very, very long way. And then during the day messes everything up. And you got to know that, Timmy, if you've done your observations.
No, my observations don't show that one bit. And you know where I'm actually doing it at, where there aren't shoaling, there aren't these crazy tidal waves, 30-foot things that hide things. It's literally very calm water, and a lot of times the water temperature is very close to the air temperature because it's very shallow water for the most part. So my observations don't show that. It's one of the most unique places to do these types of observations to figure out if the Earth is flat or round or whatever shape it is. And you've even said last time I came on, you don't know how to explain my observations.
That's true.
So B-Ball for Life's observations then in Hawaii, they didn't serve to prove anything, right, Tim, according to those criteria.
I don't keep up with the flat Earth. I don't even know.
That was a good one, that, Pete. I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, good dig.
But it's true according to Timmy, and he knows that well, that's in Hawaii, and Ranty makes the point that, what did you say, it is a 1 in 7 gradient?
1 in 9, yeah.
1 in 9, whatever. That's a massive gradient. So a massive body of water suddenly encounters land as we have this surge of incoming tide. And where else is it going to mount up but in all of the inlets and the beach areas? But B-Ball for Life, sorry Tim, B-Ball for Life has a go with Ranty here. Let me just say this: B-Ball for Life has had a go with Ranty here, and this proves curvature to one degree or other, when clearly it is as a result of these actual conditions on the ground. As you'd agree, right? You have to agree, even though
again, Pete, my observations don't have that. Okay, I'm looking at calm, very calm glass-like water sometimes. I'm not by the ocean at sea level looking through a bunch of muck. I'm up in the mountain.
When you look at the water, don't you see the sky? It reflects, doesn't it? That's how we can see the sky. Through the water.
That has nothing to do with anything.
But the light reflects off of the water's surface, right? That's how we see it. Well, in nighttime, as Ranty was talking about, there is no. It's like Brandon Toy, Ranty. Remember, I advised him to sort of change the surface the way it's not reflecting because it was on a table, and he did that, and then you have completely different results, and they're to be interpreted differently. At nighttime, you just have a black slate as well, so you're not getting any reflections, and you can see directly to the target pretty much every time, and that's fundamental, right? Tim?
Well, I mean, I know that I've said I've never been able to explain to him his observation without actually just turning around and saying sinking. I mean, that would be the most obvious explanation up there in that type of atmosphere. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I'd have to go to the location and film it myself, I think.
Tim remembers that I pointed out to him there was a light on one of the hillsides across the lake you were looking at. Remember, I pointed out to you, Tim, and we saw its reflection coming almost to the observer. And I was asking you, how is that possible if we're, the first few miles we're just seeing to the horizon and everything beyond that is dropping away? Remember that, Tim? That was a difficult part for you. I remember that, though. The dodo has a good memory. He can't fly, but he's a good memory.
I've got an observation. I've got an observation up that I'm going to just put on for everyone to have a look at. So this was the one that I was actually pointed to. It was Chicago, and Timmy, I've put a white line in. Yeah, at night time. Can you see the white line that goes across the horizon?
Yep.
Okay. So when I play the video, it's a pretty quick video. What you're going to see is the horizon. Look at this, look at the horizon, dodging all over the place. Look at this. Look how much hold up, wait. Look at that. So in the daytime, what we've seen is that Brandon Toy has been able to recreate this in his tank anyway, for at least this effect of the water being pushed up and hiding off the bottoms of buildings in the distance. And when you go backwards, so this is during the daytime, obviously this is daytime, so we're working backwards towards the nighttime, and things settle down, and then you see the bottom of the buildings, all the buildings and everything seems to settle back down again. You can see a shore-to-shore observation, and yet during the daytime, what you get... Yeah, well, hang on, wait a minute.
The bottom of the buildings. That's not shore.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can, Tom. Timmy.
How high is Joshua Nowicki in that right now?
I don't know.
Is he on the beach?
I think it's I think if I recall, it was about 15 feet. But don't hold me to that. I think that's just off memory.
He's hundreds of feet up. Hundreds.
Hundreds of feet.
It's interesting.
I don't think it was. So
good dawn there, Randy, as you have on screen.
So this is daytime, Timmy. It's a bit of a hodgepodge. You can't see anything. As the nighttime starts to settle, right? Firstly, you can't see anything of the bottom of these buildings down here. You can't see anything at all. It's all hidden behind what you'd claim to be would be the water, because it looks like the water, right? But as the night settles down, everything seems to resettle down, and that blockage that was there caused, over the bottom of these buildings here, it's all been removed, Timmy. It's gone. Nighttime.
You can see half the building there, right? You do know that, right?
You
half
do.
The skyline.
You do realise, Timmy? Are you looking at what I'm seeing?
It's shore to shore.
Timmy, was this Earth curve here that was blocking that off? Was Earth curve the reason why you couldn't see those buildings that you see later on in the video?
Has to be, right?
Was this Earth? Was this Earth curve, Timmy?
Not primarily. It's definitely effect.
Well, what was it then? What was the cause of it? Do you know?
There's multiple effects, obviously.
What was it? Fata bromosa?
What did you call his mama?
You add absolutely shit to every conversation, Pete. But anyway,
that was a joke. Come on.
Weren't you trying to? I mean, isn't that looming up? Weren't you trying to look for video that was looming up? Is that not looming up?
Nope, it's not behind Earth curve, Tim.
I didn't say that. You said you were looking for. You show me video
proof of looming from behind Earth curve.
It's looming up.
Proof of looming behind Earth curve, Timmy.
What?
Behind Earth, something being loomed up from behind Earth curve. How many times have I asked for this? 10,000 times? I asked the same question.
There's an Earth curve. It's
I've just asked you, is that Earth curve? And you just said, well, not primarily. So we know it's not Earth curve because this is just a lake, and this doesn't have any kind of tides or anything moving across it. So we know that all this obstruction here absolutely isn't Earth curve, because when we go back to the start of the video, it's way down here. So it can't be Earth curved, can it, Timmy?
Could it be a combination with Earth curve or no?
Earth curve.
I'm saying atmospheric effects and that the Earth is curved. Could it not be that?
I would default to that and say no, Timmy. I'd say no.
Okay, but that's why you're a flat earther, dude. Like, why are you saying, like, show me the Earth curve, basically? And it's like you're a flat earther. You don't believe in it. You have all of these excuses.
Well,
we literally compiled 100.
This one video trashes your claims that the bottoms of buildings are hidden behind Earth curve. Because if this is the type of thing that we see, if this is the type of thing that we are encountering all over the world, right? If this is what's happening all over the world, then during the day, and we always say do your observations at night, you always bring us observations during the day when we get these effects like this, when we see the bottoms of things missing. And we always say do the observations at night. And when you do the observations at night, then everything else seems to get revealed.
So you're saying that this happens all over the world. So you're saying that if I go out there and
I didn't claim it was happening all over the world, Timmy.
You just said that.
I said, what if this is happening all over the world, Timmy? And it's just your claim because you bring out these observations during the day that the bottom of these buildings are missing, and we say do the observations at night. And to be honest, when I go out and do observations at night, and you know this, you get to see all of Barrow, all the lights over at Barrow from distances of upwards of 20 miles, right, which 100 feet and more should be missing. And when we look the other way and we looked towards Blackpool Tower and the seafront and the big one, we see shore to shore. I've been twice to Barrow and Furness, and both times I captured shore to shore, the whole length of the Fylde coast.
Well, Granty, you said that this is shore to shore, and there's literally at all times more than half the buildings being obstructed. So I don't believe you, but I do remember that Riley used to say, maybe it's flat at night and it's curved during the day. So I remember that accusation.
Who was that?
Well, maybe in some respects he was sort of right. Maybe during the daytime it optically looks like Earth curve because of this kind of effect that we're getting, which is just this fata bromosa or something like that that's happening, that's causing you to believe that that's the real horizon, which it isn't. That isn't the real horizon, Timmy. And then at night time things settle down and the real horizon reveals everything underneath it as well.
You do
we'll
realize
also forgive. Hang on, Tim. We'll also forgive you for not probably knowing that Anthony Riley, Sleeping Warrior, is a name not to be mentioned around these parts. Can I just jump in here?
Never. Just shut up.
This will show a great. This will illustrate something excellent. This very brief. I'll go for a cigarette then. If this video that you have up here, you ask the bowler and you ask the flat earther, what is the best caption that captures reality, right? At what point in the video, pick out your spot. Now, the image you have on screen here, that's what I would go for. I would say there's so little interference. We're looking directly at these buildings, and we can't see them all because we're looking over such an extended stretch, but they're the best conditions. Whereas the ball earther will tell you they're the worst conditions, and they'll go to the worst conditions that the flat earther will say, which is where all the top of the buildings are clearly cut off, and say that that's the best condition to show reality, and all of those buildings are going over the ball. It's a dichotomy. It's a diverging path from the very outset. Exactly.
Yeah, okay, very good. But at the same time, at no point, even though he's hundreds of feet up, Ranty, can he see the bottoms of the buildings. Do you understand that point?
Well, what's interesting here is that, let me just look into this, Timmy, is that on the left-hand side here, you actually see the beginning, the formation of this inferior mirage. You can actually see it doubling over here, and you can actually see the colour, which is the same colour of the water. And if you look through the whole image, you can pick out. It's not as far on the right hand side, but absolutely on the left, a definite inferior mirage. And it's funny that that's where it starts to grow from. When I stop it there and then I move forward, you will now see there we go. Can you see how it just popped into that place and replaced it all? And let me go back a tad so you can see. There we go. There's a formation of it. There's a formation of it. And on the next, there we go. And then boom, there you've got a solid ocean of what you would claim would be water. And the whole of that building is behind that in just those two frames.
So again, we're looking over 60 miles. He's hundreds of feet up. And let me just go here, Ranty. I mean, you guys have been talking about this for years and years. And I'm just wondering, like, while we watch this Wuhan flu bullshit going on, this hoax that's happening, while we see, at least in America, riots on the street, cities burning, what the fuck practicality does Flat Earth have? I'm like, what is the end goal of you guys doing all this? Wasting your time, wasting your money? Like, do you think that you're going to actually prove to all these scientists that there's no satellites up and there's like everything's wrong? Like, where's this going, man? This has been like 5-6 years now, dude.
You seem to be concerned about it, Timmy.
I haven't made a video in a year. I came to talk to Ranty because I actually think he's a good dude, even though we disagree probably on just the Earth's shape. So I'm just wondering,
are you concerned?
We can't even get you to be honest about a picture here, Tim.
I asked the question.
Any other topic would we expect you to be honest about it?
If you guys don't, interject continuously, what's the practicality? What is the end goal of Flat Earth while we watch our liberties be stripped away and socialists, communists on the street? Like, what does it matter, dude?
For me, it's about the research. For me, it's the exploration, the knowledge of the unknown to me. I believe, like I say, that there is additional land, and I want to know what's out there. It's a very interesting concept to me. Will I ever get to go and do that? Probably not. But if this is the basis for the start of some extra research, where in the future people will go and find this additional land, then great. But I'm here at the first.
Additional land. People once walked from Scotland to Ireland, from England to Denmark. So all of that land has been
Christian terrorists, MG pillbox.
Yeah, here we go, guys. I want to tell you guys, you're doing a great job, because as long as sex offenders like Tim Osmond are pissed off, who got caught porn bombing thousands of times, you guys are doing phenomenal work. You guys keep up the good work, because Satanist perverts like Tim Osmond can't stand it, and they're sex offenders. Prove me wrong, and I'll quit my account right now. Hi, Jason Carl Hornsby. Did you find a new hobby yet besides trolling chats and porn bombing?
He still believes in Jason Carl Hornsby.
Oh, I'm so poor, baby. Oh, I'm so sorry that I have you. Yeah, you've been reported to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children since 2017. You were caught, Tim, and that is so good. Thank you for motivating us Christians and getting so many more people to understand this truth and so many more flat earthers to realize the truth and to realize they've been lied to their whole lives. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, what evidence do you have of that? You don't even know my name.
I don't negotiate with sex offenders. You've been reported to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. You've been a porn bot for 5 years. You've been a porn bomber for 5 years. You've been caught dozens of times porn bombing channels for the flat earth. You should be shot. I would absolutely burn you to the stake. Yes, I would absolutely burn you alive.
Well, let me just say that that is not my opinion. That is the opinion.
That's right, Ranties. That's mine. That's damn right. Thank you, Ranties. You guys keep up the good work.
Of the panelist MG Pillbox. Definitely not me. So, you know.
Can I ask Timmy a question? Can I ask Tim a question?
It's very disturbing. Listen, Ranty, I'm not going to tell you what to do, Ranty, but the fact that perverted criminals like this are even given a platform, not that it's your fault, I'm not holding you to a standard, but that's one of the biggest problems in Flat Earth, that they would allow a sex offender who's been caught dozens of times porn bombing channels. If I'm wrong, then report me to the police. Let's talk to the Colorado Police Department. I can't wait to talk to the police about this matter because I must be committing a crime with these accusations. So let's go ahead and file a police report. What do you say, Timmy?
I don't live in Colorado, you absolute.
Oh, you poor widow baby. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this isn't going to work out. Let's go ahead, since you don't live in Colorado, where do you live so we can file a police report there?
You already have done this before, and
poor baby, no answer. That's what I thought. Yeah, these are the real perverted criminals that should be shot literally in the streets. They should be burned at the stake to prove a point that people aren't going to put up with sex offenders. I've caught you personally for 5 years. I've seen you do it. It was you, and I'm not going to record pornography being used. I'm not a pervert who collects pornography and got caught dozens of times porn bombing channels, specifically Christians and specifically flat earthers. That's what you did, and that's on your record. And you can't even call the police. If what I was doing wasn't true, you would call the police and file a report about this harassment. I dare you, and I can't wait to be contacted.
Well, okay, so I guess that kind of escalated. Oh, dearie me. Well, you know, I'll let these guys kind of sort that out for themselves. Hopefully not on this stream. You know, I mean, we're having a good little bit of a chinwag there. I don't want to get it hijacked by Pillbox at the moment, but I definitely think he got it off his chest, whatever it was he was he was arguing about. I don't think these guys realise that I've put them on mute, which is pretty good. So whilst they're still giving each other a bit of shit, I guess I don't know what to do, actually. I'm kind of like at a loss now. Maybe I should just tell them to all behave. How's about that? Right, okay guys, are we, have we all settled down now? Have we all settled down now?
Back to looming.
Right, can I ask the question?
Can we get back to reality now, you know?
Yeah,
can I ask the question to Tim? Why are you still here? Why are you here is the point. If you know this is all a waste of time, why are you wasting your time?
I literally just answered that. Do you want to go back and listen to me actually explain that? I
didn't hear it through the chit chat.
I don't care.
Was it because of the socialists you were talking about, Timmy?
No, I'm talking to you. I actually think you're a legit
guy.
Guy.
Why does Flat Earth hurt Satanists so much that are porn bombers? Why do you think it hurts them so much,
This guy's a fake Christian because he just continues.
Right. The guy who got caught porn bombing dozens of times is going to make claims. Timmy, can you call the police department since I'm making false accusations? Okay, so when are you going to contact the police department nearest you since I'm making slanderous accusations, Timmy?
Ranty's going to lock
When's
this
that
off.
going to happen, Cupcake? Yeah, when are you going to call the...
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but
At least I said your name and your address, dumbass.
All right, so Just so you know, Pillbox has been muted to the audience, so not to the stream. So I mean, you guys can just talk all you want, but
really, the guy is vicious. I apologize for that, Rancy, because the guy is an absolute mong. I don't. He's the most un-Christ-like person there is on this flat plane of existence. So.
Well, any crime we have committed, we must look for forgiveness, right, and change our ways, and that comes back to the very heart of ourselves. But I don't know what's going on there. Someone pouring my channel, Tim, and you know who did that, and that broke my heart in a sense. 3 months off, and that was one of my best shows as well. And Gem Panda came in at the end, as I said. I don't recall seeing him in my channel before, and he said, "Oh, you had to be shut down. You were spreading too much information, too much truth."
When was this? When was this?
Does anyone remember me going to Dell's and actually sniping him and making like a comedy routine for 5 minutes?
Why would you had this thing with Channel Q, right?
What that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Every single time.
She knows they were accusing you of like being the porn bombers and not good form, and you did it overtly and sort of put the blame on others, right?
This is all hearsay. I mean, there's really absolutely zero.
Yeah, but that's your own side. That's Channel Q, your own side, Tim. I don't know anything about it.
Sides. I don't even know the chick, dude. She's a total psycho, man. I don't talk to her.
You've met a lot of you've met one another, and you've met a lot of flat earthers as well.
Flat earthers. I've met way more flat earthers than I have globe earthers. Actually, I don't even know any globe earther that except Jesse Kozlowski. But I've gone to 2 different Denver meetups.
Who's definitely an agent then that you've met? Who's definitely a flat earth agent that you actually met personally and you made that judgment?
I met ODD, which is an actual convicted sex offender, right, in Denver registry, okay? So this guy comes on and says all this bullshit just to get me riled up, but he's just a psycho. And like I said, it's a commandment, thou shalt not lie, and he's sitting there lying. He's literally bearing false witness by saying I'm Jason Carl Hornsby, which is another failed dox of me. I mean, it's really sad to see that I'm more Christ-like than this fucking clown. Anyway, let's move on.
Right. So, well, I wanted to know about what happened with you there, Pete. How long ago was you porn bombed then?
That's why I said I set up a second channel, Pete J Encore. That was about maybe about a year and a half ago now. And yeah, I was going to look. You might think I know you sort of made a bit of fun of me the other night talking about the bear in the sky. After that very day, I was looking at that very pattern, and it was after working out my own brain anyway. Sort of what was going on? We're looking at the same thing, just from a different perspective, but we don't know we're looking at the same thing. And this is the puzzle. But yeah, I sort of brought it deeper, and I looked into our creator Aristarchus, the moon. If everything is a sort of a projection, right, then we can bring it back to a source. And well, I was talking about the Eye of Providence, the square and compass, the capital letter G, and all of that. And yeah, someone porn bombed the channel. I didn't realize it. I didn't shut it down, and I lost the hang of it.
What's that noise in the background?
The channel gone for 3 months. Yeah.
What's that noise?
I don't know. Is it here in the background?
Yeah, can you hear that?
Is that okay? Is that better?
Yeah, was that you?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
Was that some shitty music you had on?
I don't have anything on. It's a silent room, unless I was sort of shaking around in where I'm sitting here. Yeah.
Didn't sound
Sorry
like,
about that. That's probably like a creaky chair or something.
Sounded like some Indian,
Sorry about
some
that.
Indian music.
Right. All right. Okay. I'm just sitting on the bed.
Snake charmer or something.
But that's the story. So you lose your champ for 3 months, and then from carelessness. But look how easy StreamYard stopped that ability. You know what I mean? That's all hand in hand with this technology. It was given to these people like Tim, who are certainly agents of deception. To what degree? Who knows? MG Pillboxes, his hands aren't clean himself. He plays a role, which is the fundamentalist Christian, which in a way is a more dangerous role, because once you get the flat earth realizing, now you have to go to this book, and only this book, and only a literal interpretation from that book, without any questions beyond that. Ask any of these people about fabricated history. They don't like that, because they need 2,000 years at least for the story to play out. You know what I mean? So, judge yourself.
There was a lot of accusations there, but what I will say is that I spent thousands of dollars on drones and cameras and all this kind of stuff. Went to, which is $10 each time, to the Great Salt Lake and provided imagery. I say things like the sun doesn't change in angular size. I give evidence of that with the solar filter on. I do it during sunset, sunrise, and as it's overhead. I've literally only had truth backed up with evidence, and this guy likes to say that everyone's an agent. We know where your mental state is, my friend, and I'm not going
But Tim,
I could go low, but I'm not.
Because you talk about it. You can go where you like. Go as low as MG Pillbox. I don't mind. Hit me. I don't care, Tim. I've said it. I don't mind. We all
Is
have
it
a life
Limbo
story.
Night tonight? Limbo Night tonight.
But Tim, the money you talked about spending there, that's all drug money. Didn't you sell weed?
Oh yeah.
Right, listen, I've got some.
Spend it on flour. I have to pay to the tax man, right?
Right, listen to this, guys. I think it was Joshua Jin. I can't remember his second name now, but Joshua Jin in the chat. Joshua Jin Flat, that was it. And he gave me this link to look up, and you might like this, Pete. Actually, I think I should share my screen that you guys can see this. And in fact, I know you're going to like this, Pete. So
Joshua Jin is in. Is Joshua Jin in?
Who? Josh Widgin Flat. Yeah, so here we go. So, a new discovery will change history, apparently. A huge and startling discovery has been made at the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. Scientists from the Wyoming State Parks Department were conducting photographic seismic readings below the tower when they discovered an incredibly large petrified root system below the tower. The Parks Department released a statement saying, "We have discovered what looks like a giant root system stemming from the base of the Devil's Tower. The root system has been measured at 4 miles deep by 7 miles wide. We are currently conducting studies and tests to confirm that this is actually a root system and not a coincidence. The discovery is on the edge of rewriting history and science as we know it. We will continue to update you with any new information, as at this time it is very limited." So,
is that a serious? Source there?
Well, he's asked me to share it, so I haven't verified it. I've just shared it as is, so it's totally unverified by me. But that is the claim. That is the claim.
All right. Okay. Well, that shouldn't be a surprise to any of us, really. But look, the truth is always known, right? Let's not fool ourselves here. We're sort of stumbling into out of the cave, in a sense, into reality. You can fight in the battles like the battles we have with Tim here, or even MG Pillbox, all you like, where there's a definitive story laid out for you. Or, well, you can read the different story and see how it applies to you. Ultimately, let me say, it has to come back to one thing, I reckon, the more I think about it, Liam. It's the tree of life, Aristarchus, right?
Yeah, here we go.
What are you going to say, Tim? What do you say to that? So, what do you say to what Ranty just read out, Tim?
I didn't even listen, but I'm just saying, like, this isn't a fight. You guys have a differing opinion. You have different explanations for observations. This is not a fight to me anymore. I used to think that this.
Listen, will you read that out again, Ranty, for him then? Do our guest the Christian thing.
I think Flat Earth is a psyop. I came out over 5 years ago and say that, and I said that they're going to try to muddy the waters with actual other conspiracies, quote unquote, or non-mainstream narratives, and they have. Every single article of Corona hoax or whatever, they're going to say, oh, these people believe in Flat Earth, or the 9/11 truthers, or anti-vaxxers. So I was right in that regard, but really I don't care at this point. The world is literally, I mean, talk about end times. Perhaps it is what we're saying.
What should you fight for then, Tim? What as an individual should we fight for, and more so as a collective? What actually should we fight for?
Our freedoms. I think that we should, just like Germany today, having hundreds of thousands of people on the street, I think that we need to expose this Corona hoax lie. And yes, there might be something that's making people sick, but it was completely vastly overrated. And we were locked down basically to, flatten the curve, which is prolonging the curve, so to speak. And we haven't really come back from that. It was like, oh, just for a little bit. And now, as our rights erode, we're still talking about these things, which are futile. It's fool's toil. But
do you see that in your local, are you talking for your local community there, your local county, your local state? Are you just talking in general? What about people in the Philippines or someone in Australia? Do you know what I mean? Who are you talking for? And should we all get on board this most recent issue, which is the corona? What about a more encompassing issue like whether the Earth is a globe or not? If the Earth is not a spinning globe, that would wake everyone up. And if people like you got on board that, if you convince yourself it was true and it was just another lie, a massive lie in the trail of lies that was left for us, right? Well, you know, wouldn't that have more of an impact, Tim?
This is under the proposition that the Earth may be flat. It's so abundantly clear that it's not flat and that it's actually a sphere with all of the observations that I spoke about before. You're talking about a grand awakening that would actually put people to sleep, pretending that there's not satellites or pretending that the Earth is flat when it's clearly not, guys.
Well, Tim, you talk about freedom. Okay, let me just say this.
That's why a drone sees sun movement when it lifts off the ground.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this to Tim. You talk about freedom, Tim, right? So now as individuals, we have that freedom, the freedom to think. Would you agree that you experience the Earth as flat and stationary? Would you agree that? And would you agree that we are free to think that, because for the most part you can agree with our ability to assess our reality as it appears before us? Would you agree with that?
So when I went out to Lake Tahoe, when I went out to the Great Salt Lake many times, when I see the sunrise and sunset over the ocean or the waters or whatever, that doesn't make me believe the Earth is flat. But I will give you that obviously I don't think that we should feel the spin. I'm just saying that the stationary idea, the geocentric sphere Earth, is still a very small possibility in my mind. But barring
No, hang on. If Earth is turning and we see sunrise and sunset because Earth is turning and we're standing on Earth, as soon as you put something hovering in the air and filming, you should be able to film which one is moving. Either the ground will move and the sun won't, or the sun will move and the ground won't. And what we see, they couldn't do this. When they first thought of this theory, they had no way to actually check it. Now we do. We've got drones with cameras on them. So we lift the drone up, film the sun, and the sun is still moving. The Earth isn't moving. It's so simple.
Why would the observation? Let's pretend that you're feedbacking there. Heliocentric versus geocentric. As far as us doing observations on the ground, what difference would there be between the two? Everything's either revolving around the Earth or we're revolving around the sun.
Let me just say, Tim, perfect. You said about sunset and sunrise. Well, over a flat extended plane, this plane of water, the surface of the water, will be lit up by encroaching light, right? Whatever or wherever it's coming from. And the nature of that flat surface, right, will change, where eventually it will go on to reflect the sky, and this is how we experience daylight. So when we're looking at something in the very vast distance and we move from trusting our eyes, we go to camera work, right? We need to decode the images with all of these new factors taken into account. But let me just say as well, you, of course, Tim, must have your spherical geometric horizon beyond which everything is disappearing and everything needs explaining in relation to. If that's taken away from you, you're screwed, right?
I don't know what you just said. I don't even know how to respond to what you just said. I don't. Sorry.
That's okay. Next.
Gleam is a very analytical guy. I'm just wondering, Gleam, would you expect a difference? Let's just pretend for a moment that the Earth is either geocentric or heliocentric as far as observations on the Earth. Would there be basically a difference as far as the sun and the moon?
1,000,000% no, because it's relativity. That is what Einstein said. The Copernican theory or the Ptolemy theory either would be equally as valid, because it's just a matter of choosing a different reference frame, where one is just you are static on one of the objects and the other is you are just static on the object you're on. So cool. No, there would be no difference. Could I ask you, have you got access to the general chat?
You mean, in Ranty's?
Yeah, in Ranty's Discord server. Oh, sorry, not the chat. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, not the
With
chat,
about 6
the actual
computers
text
going.
chat.
Yeah.
The text
What?
chat, sorry.
No, you're good.
Right up, if you carry on scrolling up. Yeah, I would love to ask these 5 questions to any globe earther, and it's just a matter of personal interest, absolutely nothing to do with anything. But I reckon these 5 questions I was going to present on Fight the Flat Earth, and I was going to try and destroy his channel with just these 5 questions. So I'd love to see how you get on.
Where are the questions?
Okay, so if you go into general in
Yeah.
the text chat bit though, not the voice chat.
Yep, I'm in there.
Yeah, and then I've just dropped a link there that's macearthoneness.co.uk GE channel destruction 5 questions.
Cool.
So should I actually share my screen? Is that all right to share my screen, Ranty, or do you want to do it?
No, well, it's up to you. You can do it if you want. I've got the thing up. I've got the link up.
Yeah, I'd love it if you would do it, if that's okay, just in case
Sure.
I need to nip off an emergency or anything like that.
Okay, so I'll share my screen.
Or I need to pretend I know what I'm on about and then just pretend someone's knocking at the door at 11 o'clock. No, but it's no seriousness here, Tim. It was just a let's play with some science and thought experiments of the flat Earth. And
Gleam, I was wondering when Tim described you as someone with seeming intelligence. I must have been that Cockney accent of yours.
No, I said he's analytical. He can actually talk about some of these more deeper questions, not just.
Well, perfect. So you'll do well answering these questions.
Can you conclude anything about the flat Earth model if you've never tested it? Well, I didn't know that there was a flat Earth model. I guess everyone has their different flat Earth model. There's an AE projection. One of the most accurate ones would be Walter Bislin's flat Earth dome model, and I've looked and tested at all these easily. So when you talk about the sun going around on a flat Earth, and you guys think that perspective is a thing, I don't understand why the sun wouldn't be biggest overhead and also fastest overhead. And then as it's setting, it would get smaller and smaller, but it would be
seriously. I cover that. I cover that in this whole document. There's 5 questions here. Just for everybody else's sake, there's 5 questions, but the whole document's 10 pages. So each question has a series of science citations. And you feel free to call them cherry picks if you wish, but I would love it if you could post this in the side chat there, Ranty, if everybody could look into this and look into the science that I've posted in there, because it is mainstream. And I will say there is a section there which actually debunks a lot of what you've said there, Tim, about no flat earthers managed to model this, that, and the other. And I'll go into that. But first, I've got to really, really kick your bum on Walter Bisling's model. Respect to Walter Bislin, right? I will say 100% respect to Walter Bislin, and as much respect as I would give to Mick West, being a designer, a coder, and to have the immense amount of volume he's actually put into his site. I know 100%, being a coder and a web designer myself, it's a lot of work. Now, with Walter Bisling's flat Earth dome model, however, he fails it on many reasons, I know, but the core one being, I cannot explain how light bends in such a manner. Therefore, flat Earth does not work. Now, I will say that his dome model specifically excludes 3 things that bend light. 1, refraction. There is no atmosphere account in there, and he admits it to me. And I literally say to him, I've looked at your back-end code, and I understand it's just JavaScript functions, meaning that there's no rendering program for this JavaScript. There was no trace, basically, of a program doing it, meaning he's hard-coded it himself, which is even better for him, showing he's much more skillful. However, it just shows to me that he doesn't have any experience with 3D design software such as 3D Auto Max and the likes of Unity and whatnot. He is a JavaScript coder and a Unix man. However, he omitted all of the atmosphere, and we all know, we've just been talking about bending of light in the atmosphere. Yeah, we all know that it can actually do it. So he's removed a facet of reality in order to fail the model. Number 2, he actually removed perspective on the ground. He done that dome model in reply to Jeranism's we all see in a dome, and that was correct. That's a correct understanding of a sky limit.
Just real quickly, I must correct you. He made that before, and actually Jaron found that and then started saying the flat Earth.
Okay, I will stand corrected on that if you are correct, Tim. Seriously, I thought it was the opposite way around. And in talking directly to Walter, he hasn't corrected me when I've stated that. However, he could have just overlooked that and just thought, nah, he's an idiot anyway, shut up. So anyway, I fully stand corrected if that is the case, yes. But either way, he has put no what's known in the world is 3D plane clipping. I've presented it on Ranties here, and we've managed to actually get something a globe earther would have thought is impossible to be possible if you use the trickery of this 3D plane clipping. However, so Walter Bislin's model doesn't account for any space-time, bending of space-time, and there obviously is some bending of space-time recorded between the sun and Earth on the flat Earth.
I'm sorry, but when I said that that's one of the best representations of observations, I'm being quite literal. It is one of the best, and he actually, as I'm sure you know, he goes in through what's wrong with his model. Maybe you added some things to it, but I'm just saying that it is the best representation. If you want to take AE, if you want to take other projections that are from the globe, it's not even close, dude.
I will say Steve Torrance has the atmosphere added, and he has matched 6 different real-world star trails, 6 different cities dotted around the Earth, both northern and southern hemisphere. So for someone that says, I can't match up anything unless I have this ultimate bending of light, and then you have a flat earther that says, I've matched up 6 different actual star trails from photos, yeah, with my model. I've sat there in the exact same spot because he's got a to scale model. So they're in this document.
You do realize that there are 3D models of the spherical Earth that will show exactly what stars will be in your sky tonight, depending on your latitude and longitude, correct? I mean, those work at all of the stars, not just 6 of them, but all of them, correct?
Oh, no, we're not talking just 6 of them. Come on. A star trail. How many stars have you got in a star trail?
Can we talk about really quickly? Does the Earth model of
you thought he meant 6
quick move away
solitary
from
stars?
Quick, move.
Really
it was 6 lots of 50,000, let's say.
You were a bit out there, Tim.
Just wondering.
Sorry.
I'm talking to Blaine, and everyone's laughing because it's hilarious. But I'm wondering.
Yeah, it is.
You're not actually saying anything as well, Tim.
Cool. Well, you've added so much greatness to this conversation. Thank you so much, Pete. Anyway, Gleam, does the spherical Earth model of Stellarium and different programs, does that match all of the star trails and all of the stars or not?
Depending on what you mean match. Yes, in as much as, yes, they've mapped it out and they have attempted to match out observable reality. No, in as much as you cannot predict all of it, because Stellarium only works to a certain amount. There is no dark matter button in Stellarium, and we all know that they're finding.
You always get so deep into this stuff. You get so deep, and it's so.
Well, you're asking if all the stars match. No, they don't.
Cute.
No, they don't. Then no, they don't. No, they don't.
The observations in real world.
Not all. Some of them will. Yes, to an extent.
Can you point to any of them that don't, please?
There will be galaxies that do not spin correctly.
Does Stellarium, as far as observations on the Earth, go to that extent to the curvature of space-time and dark matter and dark energy?
It does, yeah. That's the calculations. That's the calculations. They do input the same calculations that physics use, yes.
So
it's incorrect.
What's wrong with it then?
Dark matter and dark energy. It's unknown, and if you input... Sorry?
Do you understand that they don't really know what's going on there? I mean, people like to say that, this gravitational forces and the universe is expanding outwards, even though the Andromeda galaxy is coming towards us. I'm not...
Are they the freedom fighters, Tim?
They don't really know, and it's abundantly clear that they actually
I'm telling you.
that.
So stellarium cannot account for that, can it? Stellarium cannot account for, let's say, dark energy, because that's the expansion of all these stars. Every single star is moving away from every single other star due to this expansion rate.
More specific. So as far as the altitude of stars in your local area, you can put in where you're at, the exact point, and you can go outside if it's a clear night.
And locally, if you use your optics, yes. Yes, your eyes as your optics, yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And that is made on a sphere, correct?
That is covered later on in this. Yes. And yes, that is on a sphere model. 100%. Yes.
Cool. That's why I like you, because you're honest with it. You know, people, if I bring that up, they'd be like, well, we can't prove anything about this. I'm just saying, does it match the observations depending on, you know, where you're at, latitude and longitude on the Earth? And you just said.
Undeniably, yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
The problem with that is that all the observations come from reality. So your entire data set, right, is reality. Then what you're doing is you're going into this model and trying to make something out of that data set. Okay, now you can make a ball. Yes. You can also make a concave ball. And that's what concavers did. They took the exact same data set from the ball Earth and just put it the other way. Instead of outside, it's an inside, and everything matches. It's amazing how everything matches. All you need to do, hang on, let me finish. All you have to do is suspend reality, that people can be upside down under your feet or upside down over your head if it's concave. If you suspend that reality, everything matches.
Sorry, but actually the concave model, you have to presume that stars at the horizon are actually bending 90 degrees, and we don't have any.
You don't have to assume anything. You don't have, because this is I just said, you have the data set. Now, from that data set, you start making a model. Now, the model will always match the data set because the model comes from the data set. So the model can never not match the data set, because the hang on. The only information you're using to build this model comes from reality. Now, reality is never wrong. So if you're going to go to build a model of how reality looks, it's never going to be wrong unless you start changing something like dark matter or dark energy, which you've never observed, but inserted into your model. So you're building some kind of contraption, right, in our minds, when in reality, logically, people are not upside down. Over our head, under our feet, not a ball. Now you can say, look, I see half a building. That means people are upside down under my feet. Great. You want to believe that? Go right ahead. But it's not going to change the fact that we live on a horizontal plane with the same orientation, like a chessboard, pieces on a chessboard. We're not pins in a pincushion.
So if that were the case, and we can just model this reality onto a sphere, wouldn't it be the case as well, if the Earth were flat, that we could actually model all of the stars? We could model the two celestial points, equatorial star trails going over our head, the exact designs we could actually model on a flat Earth. Is that not possible?
Then we could take information like. Then we could take
information
like the sun. Hang on, just 1 second. Then we can take information like the sun lighting up the full face of the moon, and paint it in a different light, right, Tim? This is how we're told we get to see the full face of the moon by the sun lighting it. Now, if we're in it, sorry, right the hand. If we're in a different environment, you have to first step off of the ball and stop telling yourself and telling others that there is no up and down, there is no horizontal, because everyone pointing in what seemingly horizontal direction must be pointing in a different direction, and get real. So sorry for interrupting my
hand. That's a good point.
Go ahead, right the hand.
Now, how do you address the point with that the up and down is the same for everybody? On a flat plane, the sky is above everybody's head. It never needs to be under my feet. And we never observe the sky under our feet. So when you say, I have a model, I'm like, does that model include the assumption that the sky is under my feet with people upside down under my feet? And you go, yes, but it predicts reality. I'm going to go, well, reality is not people upside down. Right? That's not part of reality. So why are you inserting that into a model that uses it to predict reality when it's not part of reality? It actually goes against reality.
That's your presuppositional beliefs about the Earth. It's horizontal.
I presuppose people are on the. Have you ever seen anybody on the side of the Earth?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean,
exactly, because you only see pieces on a chessboard are on top of the chessboard. Now, if you had a square or a cube, like a die, and you had pieces all over it, Some of those pieces would be under other pieces, okay? Now, this is what you're saying we live on. And I'm saying, you don't see that. Never in reality will you see something tilted 45 degrees or 90 degrees on the side, right? Operating normally. You're like, how you doing, Bob? How's it going on the 90 degree? And he's, doing fine down here. You know, you never see that. Everything you see is one orientation. You make this upside down orientation in your head. This is where it's created. It's never created in reality. And then you go say, I have evidence. Your evidence must come from reality or it's not reality. So where is your reality of this upside down people? You don't have it. So you go to other things, like a religion.
I never actually talk about upside down people because only the feeble-minded flat earthers would even bring up something so stupid. Like, let's just pretend the earth is a sphere, and then we want to see a person on the side of the sphere. So we're going to have like a billion times zoom to zoom in. I mean, like, what does that even mean?
Why would I pretend the earth is a ball when there's people upside down under my feet? Why would I even do that?
Use your imagination.
I don't look at
you can't even answer that. You can't even answer the foundation of your model. It starts with there's people upside down. Why would you start with that? That is so, I'm just asking, but you don't observe it. You don't observe the upside down people. So why you say it's an observation?
That's not even something that crosses my mind about people being upside down.
Well, it should. It should. It's part of your model. And it's a big glaring hole that when you show it to me, it looks like a big piece of shit. And I'm going, what about that piece of shit? And you're going, don't worry about it, just eat it. And I'm going, I don't want to eat this model with this big, huge piece of shit on it, right? There's upside down people right under the shoe. Look at it. Wash that off before you give it to me.
I wipe my ass with your model.
Sorry, but you do understand that that's just your perspective? Like, that's your subjective beliefs? Like,
no, that's objective reality.
Upside down on the other side of the earth? Like, that's just so silly.
But objective reality is always pieces on top of a chessboard. That's how reality works. I'm looking at a lawnmower. I can't just push my lawnmower and watch it go down the hill of Earth curve. That's never going to happen. It's a flat plane, bro. You'll even say, yes, it's a flat plane because how big the ball is. So
at the same time, Tim, hang on. At the same time, Tim, you will entertain the possibility that the Earth is not moving, right? But it's still a sphere. Don't you take that possibility seriously?
I just said it in the chat, and I think I pretty much said it here, that geocentricity is a possibility. That doesn't mean the Earth is flat. It actually means that most people that are geocentric are globe Earth geocentrists, and a lot of it.
Bro, you can stop the Earth in your you can stop the Earth moving and be like, yeah, it still works. Hang on. You can stop the Earth from moving, like a drastic change. Like, yeah, everything still works, but you can't flatten it out and say everything still works. That's ridiculous. Come on.
No, but he can't. He can stop the Earth, but he can't imagine people not being upside down to one another.
Right? Come on, you can stop it. What about not moving? No upside down people. Doesn't that match reality so perfect? I'm like, yo, this is matching up. Look at it.
Sorry, but Gleam and I have already kind of gone past this point that observationally from the Earth, it would be basically the same if it was geocentric or heliocentric sphere.
No. You would never observe upside down people. So we can rule out the balls, whether it's a moving ball. And what is it on? What is it floating in nothing? Spinning in nothing? Just suspended in nothing? Falling to nothing? Expanding into nothing? How do you expand into non-existence?
I understand
that non-existence. You understand like 95% of your model is non-existence, right? You're going to tell me you have bouncing atoms, and between those atoms is nothing. It's just space, just empty nothingness. Your model is mostly nothing. That's crazy. But this is your model. These are the holes that you like to talk about everything but these things, right? Because it's like if you were presenting this to a person, right? He was like, okay, you're going to ball model go. And then you went and then I started saying this stuff. He's going to be like, oh shit, this looks really bad for you. Like upside down people, you're crazy. Time slowing down, you're crazy. Things getting bigger when they move faster. What are you talking about? And you're going to be like, well, it's all very quantum mathematical, And he's going to look, you're living in a different world, bro.
Tim is not a serious mind for your serious presentation, Jim.
You're just basically at the end of the day, just talking to yourself. Like I've never made any of those arguments. I've never said anything about people on the other side being upside down. You're just talking to yourself.
When you make the Earth a ball, when you say the Earth is a ball to explain the stars, you put people upside down under your feet, whether you want to or not. And I'm going to bring it up. And I'm going to say, look, Maybe you can explain the sky, but you put people upside down under your feet. You have to step in
not upside down. They're
do this.
right side up.
They are.
So silly.
If I was on the moon looking at the Earth in your model, I could see upside down people on the quote unquote bottom. That there is no bottom on the ball.
A billion times zoom. I don't know what
ridiculous,
you're talking
bro. Come on.
Yeah. Well, the Earth is
there's no up and down in space, right?
Circumference. 250,000 miles away.
Floating in what? Nothing.
Nothing to say here. It's just
silly.
silly.
So you think this ball is just suspended in nothing?
Not a ball.
Right? Just this oblate spheroid. You think this oblate spheroid with water is just suspended in a vacuum chamber? So somebody made a vacuum chamber, right? Then put some matter in it, and then the matter, instead of expanding into this vacuum chamber, formed these balls.
Great. Anybody else have anything else to say? This guy's just...
Bro, this is your model. Why don't you want to be like, yo, there's some problems in the model. Okay, I'll admit there's some issues. It's got a couple of problems.
I admit that you have a problem with the model because you think like a 2-year-old. I do admit that.
Oh, okay. So if a 2-year-old came up to me and was like, there's people upside down under my feet, I'd like, very good, little boy. Go back in your room and clean it. Right? Like, don't we judge?
Wouldn't we be mental zombies to believe the stuff that you're telling us to believe? And I thought you were all about freedom. What? Freedom of the populace, freedom of the individual, freedom of the mind?
Yeah, believe whatever you guys want to. I don't care. That's great.
No, but it's not about belief. It's not about belief. It's about what is, right?
Right? Do you ever see a ball suspended in nothing? Do you ever see that in your life? For which you can then say, well, if this is doing this here, then maybe the Earth can be doing it out there. But you don't see that.
Bro, you sound like a church lady.
You see a ball
man.
falling
Come
to the
on,
floor.
dude.
Tim says, well, I wasn't
you're not
like
addressing any of the
that time.
You're saying, okay, you're pointing out flaws in my model, but you're stupid. Okay, that's a great argument. If
you're not pointing out any flaws in the model, it's just your disbelief in the model. That's all.
But okay, so I have to believe. So your model requires belief, not facts, right? I have to believe.
Yeah, belief is a subset of knowledge. Did you know that?
Oh, so okay, so I don't.
Did you know that?
No, hang on. That's your definition, right? I think I have two categories. Now, I've gone over this before, maybe never heard. My categories are knowledge, which are personally verified, and then there's belief, which is non-personally verified. Now, in your world, you have no knowledge. Everything you have is a belief, because you'll even hang on, let me finish. Hang on. You just said all knowledge is a subset of belief, and that's your look on the world. I told you mine, too, knowledge and belief. Now you say all my knowledge is belief. So you're saying you only have, but to you, like to you,
do you know what philosophy or epistemology is, right? The hand. I'm just wondering.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so what I'm saying is and here, listen. You're not listening. Listen to my philosophy.
It's silly.
My philosophy is, in my world, I have two categories of quote unquote knowledge. I have beliefs that I haven't verified. Like, I believe there's a creator. I haven't verified the fact that there's a creator, but the fact that there's this world, that it's here, that I can interact with, it's all very good evidence, as you would say. I'm just going to say that's a word, but it's observational, and then I can draw a conclusion from those observations. But the knowledge or the facts are that I am observing a grape leaf right now. I'm touching. These are the facts. These are tangible to reality. So this is my epistemology. Now, your epistemology is everything is a belief. I believe everything. So I'm saying you have no knowledge.
No, another straw man you just created. And also, you're basically creating your own epistemology where it's like, oh, okay, just like you don't want to believe that people are upside down from you, you just
Tim doesn't believe the bottom
all of your opinions. That's all you have.
I thought people being upside down was a straw man or something. Wasn't that silly?
What are you talking about, dude? You understand
each person can have their own epistemology, their own philosophical view on the world. We don't all have to have your view.
No,
just
right, the hand. You must think like everybody else does. How dare you have your own thoughts? That's just so wrong.
So all I'm trying to point out is that your thoughts are, you only have beliefs. Right? You have your knowledge, which is a belief. You have your facts, which is a belief. Everything is under belief. Now, in my epistemology, okay, so are you not saying that? So you didn't tell me that beliefs are that knowledge is a subset of a grander category of beliefs. You didn't tell me that yourself?
Do you understand that in epistemology, justified true belief? Do you understand these very simple things that have been for hundreds of
Do you understand the word?
years.
Do you understand? Hang on. Do you understand the word justified is a subjective term? Like you think it's justified to believe that there's people. Hang on, let me finish. You think this is philosophy. You think it's justified to believe there's people upside down under your feet. I don't think that's justified because physically it can't happen. I can't see it demonstrated, but you can justify it through, well, if there's a force, the force. So you can make justifications. So anybody can justify. I'm not straw manning. I'm not making. Oh, I'm talking philosophy.
You're making my arguments for me so that you can tear down.
I'm talking philosophy.
Okay, Timmy, what do you think? What do you think? Come on, Timmy. He's asking you a question.
I don't know the question. All I know is that I studied.
Okay, so I'll restate the question.
I was almost done. I studied philosophy in college, and this guy has his own brand of it, and I'm supposed to accept it or something like that. I don't really know. I'm just saying what I know. So
detail the distinction then, Tim. Detail the distinction for him.
No, I think that really he needs to detail what he thinks he knows.
He did. He gave you an example. He answered your question by giving you an example of justified.
He said what he believes, which is
personally verified.
Hold on, we got a bit of echo here. We got a bit of echo. I think it's Paige.
You can't claim something as knowledge until you have personally verified it. Because if people, and this is where the my philosophical view that, hang on, I'll show you why. My philosophical view is that unless you personally verify something, it can't be knowledge because there must be some kind of distinction between what you have personally verified and what you are just accepting on faith or belief. Because if there isn't, and this is my philosophical view, because if there isn't that distinction between what you can personally verify and what you accept through non-personal verification, then anything can become a fact.
Okay, let me ask you. Hold on, guys. Right, listen. I've had a super chat actually to ask you a question right at the hand. So, right at the hand, do you believe in the Mariana Trench?
I actually don't. I watched that video. Watch the video where it's James Cameron, who just so happens to produce movies, goes to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. What's the first thing he sees? A flounder, right? Flounder. when you do, what does flounder mean? To flobble and wobble around, not really doing anything. Exactly. So, bro, they're jokes. I don't think there's a bottom. I think we float on water.
You get down that low,
and I think that's what causes the tide.
Right?
Okay, well let me do the follow-up question from him. So he says more people have been to space than to the base of the Mariana Trench. So, in your world, which you just agreed, Mariana Trench does not exist as you can't personally check it. So he's basically said what you said.
Yes, yeah. I said you, and I don't think it is there. I think we live on a bottomless, watery. I think their universe of nothing is a universe of water, and that makes much more sense. What would support these things if not water?
No, that can't make more sense, man. That's turtles all the way down. That can't make more because then there's nothing. And it's a pizza, right? It's a pizza dish floating in just endless water. So that
the thing is, I also believe simulation. So I think we are in a rendered world. So the world only renders.
Okay.
There's only a rendering of the stuff we need.
Listen, I sort of agree with you, but I disagree in the sense that there's a different force in play here. And for me, myself, I've decided that the truth is already known, right? So certain things beyond things that you can sort of clarify via sensible information, you got to go with. But that's down to the individual. Here we are, flat Earth. Tim, let me just say, Tim Osmond here knows the Earth is flat. He knew it before you did. That's why he's been embarrassed in all these answers he's been given.
It's more straw man. Interesting for
straw man.
Can I get back to those questions?
You can. One sec though. There is another super chat. Again, it's right at the hand's question. Have you personally gone and touched the pyramids?
No, I haven't. So, and this is one of the things they'll like to say. Oh, is China real? You know. Now, look. If you hard line, I draw a hard line. If you haven't personally verified it, you can't call it knowledge. Now, if you want to get into logical beliefs, right? The Earth is huge. Is there a portion of land where Chinese people come from? When my girlfriend has been to China and speaks this weird language that I don't understand, bro, it's believable to me. Is it believable that it's upside down under my feet? No.
Okay, so so basically he's just said that. He's basically said, look, so if no, then so they don't exist, question mark. Yeah, so...
Well, then it becomes a thin line then. And what do you rely on at the end of the day? What do you rely on the end of the day? Right the hand. But if you place yourself in a simulation, then are you greater than the simulation? It sort of equates to a creator in a sense, doesn't it? Because if we are part of this
maybe the
construct, I
simulation
call it,
is the creator. Maybe we are living in the creator.
What's in us, right? Then what's innate within us must be applied to this greater puzzle. So we have to go beyond. We have to go beyond the sensible information in many things. And I was going to say, I've encountered many strange things, but a ghost I've never encountered. But I'm fucking damn sure there are. If you want to describe them as ghosts, I'm damn sure I've seen and I've heard stories and I've seen too many. Even if a lot of them are sketchy, there's just too much evidence. And look, it just ties in with the nature of our true reality, as opposed to the fucking nonsense Tim is trying to continue to peddle us.
The Mind of God's in chat. I haven't spoken to him for quite a while. I don't know if he's doing these debates anymore. But he says it's been a bad day for ballers today. Well, I'd like for him to to chirp in and tell us why that is, because I haven't seen all the other shows that have gone on today. But I definitely know that there's been a few.
Bro, he had Fight the Flat Earth had this high school kid or something on talking about like money, and it's so clueless. It was unbelievable. I got to make a video just on how clueless this guy is at Fight the Flat Earth.
He thought the Reserve Bank had money in reserve.
Oh, God.
Because he said $100 million. He thought it was $100 million. Then when
no idea that everything's done by debt.
When he said it was $1 trillion stimulus package, he was like, "No, there's no way. We don't use that kind of money. That's ridiculous." And I was just like, "Oh my God, you have no idea what's going on in the world."
That's like Dr. Evil, $1 million.
A $6 trillion check. He said, "This is the first T check I've ever signed. I'm so excited." Like he even said that.
So, right, the hand, you do understand that we're talking about a person, Fight the Fat Gourd, that believes that fluoride is good for you, and that if you don't
the
wear
Earth is a ball, and that we float in nothing. Yeah, I know.
If you don't wear a mask out in public, that you're going to kill old people. He literally, they make fun of people that are like, why are we wearing these masks? And actually bringing evidence up of masks not being effective at all for this bullshit. Like, there's a lot.
They lied about the virus, but told you the truth about the moon landing. All right, man.
Is he a scammer, Tim? Is he a scammer? Is he an enemy to freedom?
What a non sequitur, dude! You're just full of fallacies, man. Like, can you just make arguments or like?
I'm just asking you: is Flight the Flat Gourd?
I do make arguments. You bring up the fallacies.
An enemy to truth or freedom?
I bring up your fallacies. Yes, that was a complete non sequitur. So stupid.
Tim, stop talking nonsense. That was a direct question about Fight the Flat Gourd, as you call him. He's making a lot of money from his channel. He's harboring a lot of, what are you going to say? They're, for the most part, people who agree with you, right?
Oh,
is he an enemy to truth? Is he an enemy to freedom, ultimately?
Well, he made, get this to me, so he made, and I can't verify it, but from what I saw, he absolutely made a fair few thousand off that 45 hour stream, or whatever it was that he did. He definitely was...
How many thousand, Ranty?
It was a few thousand, for sure. I think in the first couple of hours he had, 500-600 that had gone in.
He's getting a drone or a new P100 or something.
No, this was...
He's a total loser, dude. He's a total fucking loser.
He's going to get a breast
a new freezer full of meat, baby.
I think it's just that the Globers are richer than the Flat Earthers. So if you're a Globe Earther, you get treated pretty well. So yeah.
Shout out to Sam Hind.
And shout out to Sam Hind as well. In fact, actually, Kangu, the only guy that's done the super chats tonight, he's actually a Globe Earther. So that just goes to back up what I've just said.
Adds up. If you made 60 quid a day and you decided to go on 3 or 4 nights a week over the course of a month, that would be a nice little tidy sum that you could, survive well on. I guess that's how people make money. And in a way, when money enters, truth leaves, because there's always an audience and you become to rely on it. But,
I agree with that, Pete. That's why I never asked for a penny. I literally...
You made loads of money from selling drugs. I know, Tim.
Tim, who's your employer? Who do you work for?
What does that matter?
I do curious. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Tim, 2.5 grams of weed over here is €50. It's about $50.
You're tempting him to come over there. Be like, oh, what? How much?
Mad. $50, €50
You got
for
a
2.5 grams.
PO box? You got a PO box?
It's $50 for 3 grams here. You get a 3
mad,
for
Paige. Look at how with slaves we
absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Bro, it's
For something that
30
grows in the
bucks for
ground,
3.5
ridiculous.
grams here.
$30 for 3.5 grams.
What?
Yeah, bro. You get an ounce for $100. 14 grams.
But for me to pay pounds, it would cost me double and a bit of what Pete. So it would, for me to buy his stuff, it would be like $100 and something bucks in my money.
Denver, then it sounds like Denver prices.
No. This price is everywhere.
No, I mean I can get ounces for 30, dude.
Why are you starting there right there? It's like this price is everywhere.
I'm just saying. You never what's that top? The black market over there on 123 Main. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I think really woke Richie was doing a deal that you could go over and you could stay at his gaff or in his garden or something for 2 weeks, and there'd be as much smoke as you can possibly want.
But you have to do a lot of trimming.
I have no idea.
You just wait until Tyson's Ranch gets on the go.
Listen to this, Randy. I went over to a friend in California, right? And the first thing she did was brought me into the garage. And everything's pretty small here in Ireland, but we had 3 rooms where there was 30 plants beginning, 30 plants in the middle, and 30 plants at the end dry. And it was like perfectly legal, because if you had an ailment, you get a doctor's card, you had the ability to grow at least 100 plants. And of course, everyone had, with any minor ailment, and then you could legally grow and sell the plants for an exorbitant amount.
Marijuana is the most profitable
2.5 grams is robbery. Let me just say that I use trim. Let me just say I smoke away, no problem. I use trim occasionally as well. Sort of a boring job, right? You know what I mean? But that's when there's so much competition around. You have to get a nice bush going. And all of the trimmings, if I brought them back here, Randy, because hash is made from all of the different byproducts, really, but not really as well. Jesus Christ. I'm not even talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands, pillowcases worth of stuff she used to put away and sell the rest of the stuff and just make oils out of it as well. Even from the oil alone, fantastic, right? Cures cancer. And we all know these sort of things, like, you know. But yeah, 2.5 grams for €50. Same at Page there. It's crazy stuff. We're in a massive prison.
well, here in the UK, we had, is it medical marijuana? You can, there was a contract that was put out for this for the industry, and and who was it? Was it one? It was one of the ministers.
GW Pharmaceuticals is the drugs minister's husband.
The drugs minister's husband gets the contract. To produce and manufacture the cannabis to go on sale. The only one in the UK. You couldn't make that up.
The UK are Europe's biggest dealer, exporter of cannabis.
Wow.
Hey, we're going to ask Timmy a question, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
I would love to carry on my line of inquiry, but either way, you carry on first. No, mine's long. Mine's long, so you get one in there before me.
Yeah, we'll have a line, Liam, and then carry on your inquiry.
Hey, so Timmy, do you believe that psyops are obviously real, right? You believe flat Earth's a psyop, correct? That's what you were saying earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that the people in positions of organizing or manipulating a crowd, do you think they put multiple psyops at any given time?
Absolutely.
Right on. So do you think the COVID is a psyop to wake up the mass majority for one reason in particular, is to destabilize healthcare institutions, destabilize education institutions, and just overall destabilize the fundamental trust in the white coats, if you will?
That's a tough one, man, because really there's so many white coats that are speaking out against COVID. So it's not like they're in unison. It seems like the Faucis and the Gates and all these people are the ones weaving the web, but there's a lot of people that are in the wake of people actually getting sick and then treating them. and they're saying this is not what they're telling us, basically. So I don't know.
Okay, so the point is that it's a psyop. It's to control the mind. So if you were to put in a psyop in place, that particular psyop was to give directives and orders for the human, right? Whether it would be you're going to think this for religion, you're going to think this for science, you're going to think this for health. Basically, these groups put forth these psyops. This is what you concluded Flat Earth is. So obviously a group is behind this Flat Earth to put forth the psyop, correct? This is what you're suggesting.
There would undoubtedly have to be some kind of a think tank or something like that.
Okay. So in the beginning, the Earth was, presumed to be flat, stationary, geocentric, right? And very religious. God created everything. Wouldn't it make sense that the man put forth another psyop to remove God and creation from man?
Correct.
Really, that line of thinking is good to me. Truthfully, yeah.
Okay. So wait a sec. So you believe an institution that, look, it's all worldwide. This imposing of the finger of the COVID, they have their fingerprint on everything. So you're saying that the same institution that's doing COVID is the same science institution. I would say the same military people are doing the same thing with COVID as the same thing we would do with any other psyop. It would be military based from any because they have the technology essentially. It would be from any background of religion, culture, science, because they're psyops to control population. So you got Russians interfering with elections, supposedly. You got United States interference with elections, supposedly. You got George Soros interfering with elections, supposedly. So you're telling me that all the psyops going on, when you finally land at COVID, you realize that it's worldwide, you can't question your cause, your epistemology, whatever you believe to be true regarding the spinning ball Earth, when you see how many people are coming towards Flat Earth and gravitating it towards it, and all these problems.
Sorry, but it seems like the leaders of these countries are all in lockstep around the world. There's videos of them saying the same exact script, basically, to their people.
Sure,
so,
but I'm just saying is that it's the same institution that wants to be dominant. The whole point of space is to be dominant. The whole point of having satellites is to be dominant. The reason is, anytime I research satellites, it's not really for anything other than spying and espionage and data collection, right? They have no reason to go up there for what? They're going to transfer signals? No, we already know that they transmit signals through the ground, through station towers. The satellites are impractical. You need 4 of them for one triangulation. The point is ground tower communication is how it happens in reality, but you have espionage and spying via satellites, right? This is the only purpose to have satellites up there. What other purpose is a satellite good for, Timmy?
Satellite TV, satellite phones.
Oh, so satellite TV. Okay. So you're telling me that you're going to run satellite TV when they can do it with ground towers. It would be more efficient and more effective with ground towers.
Do you understand that there's places on Earth that don't have ground towers and satellite?
Yeah, exactly. I have an Inspire 1 drone. I told this story many times. I went up north with my Inspire drone. It's satellite driven, my Inspire drone. I had no access to satellites. I called DJI. I was like, I'm doing work. I have this thing to do this thing for this drone. I need it to work. Blah, blah, blah. We don't have ground towers out there. Oh, so satellites. No, it's ground towers. So listen, buddy, you can go one or the other. The point is that satellites don't prove whether the Earth is flat or round. The point is that they're up there. Why are they up there? I think they're for the spying, the espionage, data collection.
Why would they be there to service populations that are sparse?
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So that's stupid. Try something else.
So the point is you're acknowledging the psyop, but yet you're not looking at the own psyop you were presented, which is a spinning ball through infinite space. God doesn't exist. Everything is evolved. That's the psyop.
Do you understand that there's more Christians probably than atheists that believe that the Earth is a sphere?
But that is irrelevant. The point is it's a psyop.
That's flat.
And they're deceived.
Christians are retarded.
The point is that you're going to be fed your own line of thoughts unless you do your own line of thinking. Okay,
you're going to
be fed to the lines, Tim.
You understand that, right?
Say it again.
You understand that I went out and actually tested the flat Earth claims?
So did I. And I even went back to pilot school again, dude, just to do it again, just to see the instruments, just to ask questions, to see the operations. It's stationary, dude. It's a level stationary plane. If you're telling me, you can tell me honestly that for a 6-foot observer can measure dip or drop or curvature standing on the shore, but then I get in my fucking aircraft and I fly 5,000 feet, and that horizon's way the fuck over there, but some 6-foot observer's calculating dip or drop, you're a moron and a disingenuous tool, dude. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done. No, dude, you're telling me a 6-foot observer. You're telling me a 6-foot observer can measure drop.
Oh, you're fiery tonight, Fatter Dada.
You're telling me.
One of those parties,
you're telling me. I just got off vacation. So listen, Tim, you're just being disingenuous. If a 6-foot observer can calculate dip or drop, then it should be exponential the higher I go, and it doesn't happen that way. That is a fact. Anyway, Gleam, you have 5 questions. I'd love to hear you destroy Timmy with them. Thank you.
Okay.
So I think this goes back to something I've talked about a lot. People don't understand. They can't visualize in 3D. Seeing from the ground, basically the curvature of the Earth from the z-axis, as opposed to looking at it on a plane and seeing it from the x-axis. So that's a very simple thing to be like.
Again, you're telling people that they can calculate dip or drop for a 6-foot observer. We've got drones that are 128,000 feet, dude. It's a level plane forever across it.
So
and the whole point is this is the thing, Timmy, in your again, I'm just going to ask to clarify for the audience. In every single Earth curvature calculator you have, between the observer and the horizon position, there's this arc. Okay, what causes that arc in your model?
So anyway, when I take my drone up,
Timmy, that's a total fucking wave.
Go ahead. See now,
buddy.
Okay, let's move on then.
What causes your arc in your model? What causes your arc between the position of the observer and the horizon?
I'm just not going to answer. Gleam, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, Gleam, go ahead, buddy. Thank you.
Right, let's move on. Right, listen. In the meantime, we have had a super chat that's going back to the discussion that we had about cannabis. So, from Windrider, who says Rick Simpson oil does work. Now, I've never heard of that before, but that's the name of it. Rick Simpson. Must make yourself, apparently, and to top that off, there's somebody else that says Phoenix Tears. I don't know if you've heard of that, but so there's two
Tim
sorts of oils.
knows all about this stuff, Ranty. Tim, cannabis oil, does it cure or heal the body, of any of these illnesses?
I have no evidence for that. But Gleam, do you have a problem with seeing
and you deal in the stuff
between x-axis curvature and seeing things dip below, like on the z-axis?
I get that. And it comes into that very first question and exactly what you just said. I tested some of the flat Earth claims using my drone, and that was with Jesse, was it? Was it on the Salton Sea where you done the separate points?
No, it was the Great Salt Lake. It was not just
Great Salt Lake.
I've done it probably 30 different times. So now you can't see the same amount of land. You can see as you go up, you can start to see more and more of mountains that are 37 miles away or 60 miles away. So
sorry, that was the optical one. Which was the one that you done with GPS? Was that with Jesse?
Yeah, that was across the Bonneville Salt Flats. We did 2 rounds. It was about 37 miles of XYZ Cartesian coordinate data. Yeah.
Okay. And on that, when you said, or it was the very first question there, Ranty, can I just share the screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If that's all good.
Do you want
to go live?
Yeah, you can share yours if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, if you click on it, and the audience can see it as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you, the point I'm getting at, if we just run through these real quickly instead of dragging it out, because I could chat for years about these, but can you conclude anything about the flat Earth model if you have never tested it? Now, your instant reaction to that earlier was, there isn't a flat Earth model. It's all crap. None of it can be explained. And if we agree with that, if we say, no, there isn't a flat Earth model, no one agrees on one, even if we agree on that, then that means the answer to that question is categorically no. You cannot conclude anything about the flat Earth model because you can't test it. So any chance.
A long time ago, though, Gleam, you must admit that they were using the AE and Gleasons, and they were using those. So, yes, we've tested the different, which were projections of the sphere. I can literally take them with Flexify in Photoshop and turn them back into a sphere that actually works with nighttime, daytime, twilight, all that kind of stuff. So,
you turned the Gleason's map into a dodo. Do you remember that, Tim?
Go ahead, Gleam.
I totally understand. However, you haven't compared two models. In science, if you were to do a correct scientific inquiry and you were a globe earther looking to prove the flat earther wrong or the flat earth model wrong, you would surely compare two models. And in order to do that, you would have to, number one, use a flat Earth model that a flat earther has designed for a start, because you can't just go making your own up like Walter did, because he just pressed delete on the atmosphere, which is stupid. Yeah. So either way, if we can move on to the next question, I'd really love your answer.
I mean, to be fair, though, you know that all observations that are above like 15 degrees on the horizon, you really don't need that much atmospheric conditions to be in the model, do you? For as far as observations go.
Surely you do. If it can bring a whole city behind a curve, surely it can drop a whole city behind a curve.
Yeah, I'm talking about 15 degrees above the horizon, right? There's not going to be that many atmospheric conditions because you're looking more upwards, right?
No, you're still looking through. If you drew a tangent, a triangle from your eye height going down to the floor on a flat surface, you're still the volume of refraction that you will get, yes, will be less because you're not within that band, let's say, of density, the lower density. However, you're still looking through it. There is still going to be a misdirection of light, regardless of how high you get up, because what you're looking at is the horizon, and it's that thing which
I don't think that's why they do a lot of observations above 15 degrees above the horizon.
No, I understand that.
Okay, all right.
I understand that from mountain to mountain, and then you get a clear run right the way through. But still,
most of those observations most of them are in that band of, what would that be, 180? It would be quite a bit above what you're looking up and just down of that and just down of that, not the horizon area. So I mean, yeah, and you understand. I mean, I'm surprised. Yeah, there are things that could be added to that model.
Gleam, can I just interject for a second? You talked about models and comparing two to know the difference.
I wasn't talking. Go ahead, Data.
Yeah, listen, you want a model, right? You want to do use your mathematics to scale it down, right? Like you want to actually compare. You say like testing shit. Well, I did an example. To this day, only Rory tried 3 times, dude, and failed 3 times to present his case. Take an observation on my channel. I've showed it to you. It's the observation from Mount St. Helens. I've also done in Blender where I brought in the elevation and distance data and compared it to, my smaller scaled down 1/100,000 scale model. There's no curvature, dude. There's no dip or drop. So if you're willing to compare your mathematical model, in other words, one that's just distance and elevation, and then one that's got distance, elevation, and drop, easily done. Are you interested?
Was that to me or to Tim? Sorry.
Sorry, to Timmy there, not Gleam.
I thought it was to Gleam. Wow.
No.
I knew you knew it was to you, Tim. You literally did.
He said Gleam in that, though. I didn't.
No, I said if I can interject and ask Tim a question here. But anyway, it's for you. And what it is on my channel, it's Mount St. Helens. It's an observation that has all the mountains of Mount Hood, Mount Adams, Mount Jefferson. Mount Jefferson, Mount Adams, Mount Hood, and Mount Rainier, right from Mount St. Helens. Apply the elevation data, reduce it to 1/100,000 scale. Elevation and distance data, reduce it to 1/100 scale. Do 2 models. Do one that has drop, and do one that doesn't. Okay? And then apply reality to your scaled down model.
It's more to what Tim is going to come back with.
Yeah, that's what I'm just getting instruction what you can do for the model. It's an easy observation. Go do it and post the video. If you're going to do a next video, you're going to do one, and you keep talking about testing the model, then do something of Earth that has elevation and distance data. Do 2 models. Shrink it down to 1/100,000 scale and see which one fucking still matches reality.
And don't forget to add in the extended floor flat Earth data, right? And how when the sun comes into view,
it's just the point. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, man, this is just elevation and distance data. 2 models. One has a drop.
Sure,
one
why
doesn't.
not add in all the components that we think might be a factor?
You got like a mosquito flying around in your place there, or something. Sounds like a mosquito.
It's not. It's his Indian music.
Quiet here. I don't know what you mean.
Just banged it up.
I did test both and all models. I mean, there's one spherical model, and of course, there's subsets of that. There's data models.
Okay, so do me a favor. Do two models side by side.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Gleam, actually.
All right,
I thought you were talking to flat Earth data as well.
Dude, you're a dick. Anyway, Gleam, go ahead.
Yeah, that's all you got.
Yeah, well, with that, obviously, flat earthers core thing, and let me basically use somebody core in the flat Earth movement and say Nathan Oakley says that perspective and refraction have been hijacked as the imaginary curve. So I would assume that when you are designing your flat Earth model to make it a fair test, you have used perspective and refraction to mimic the effect of curvature. Because I can guarantee you've not, because going back to exactly what FED was saying, or
you just said you would assume he did, Gleam.
No, even if we did before, the whole point was that the observation is identical. So whatever happens on a globe where bits are missing from the bottom would be the same observation on a flat Earth. It would just be different descriptions of the concept behind what is blocking that.
I totally agree. And I actually said that earlier. I said basically we have the same observations and we look at them differently with different.
Here's the problem with that.
There's only one reality, right?
There's the problem with that is the functionality of that perception is that there's no functionality of curvature, only a functionality of a plane. So it's not representing an interpretation that it's curved. It's representing the observation that it's a plane. No, listen, dude, I downloaded the elevation data from NASA. Listen, I opened Blender. I downloaded the elevation and distance data for this observation I'm talking about, from Mount St. Helens to Mount Jefferson. Then what I did is I took a little aircraft carrier, because it's elevation and distance data, and then I animated it across the plane as it would actually do so in reality. This is over a distance of 110 miles, which would be about 8,066 foot drop. It's like a mile and a half a drop. This is a distance 110 miles. You're telling your balls, and this is on the mountains, bro. So there's no major refraction going on, buddy. Do you understand? So just go do it. Go make a video of it and show me whatever math you want. You want to shrink your model to 3,959. You want to blow your model up to 41, whatever it is, 45, 59. You want to use the 7 over R. Show it. But I guarantee you it doesn't match the elevation and distance data that I can just bring in from NASA right into Blender. There's no curve in any of that data, dude. Matches a map that you would use for aviation. So you're busted tenfold.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
Again, I don't think there was anything to respond to there. Gleam, did you want to go to the
So anyway, so going into the second one, if you're okay, I mean my whole opinion on all of the anti-flat earthers, the globe earthers who are debunking the flat earthers, anyone who has a video on their channel right now saying, and this proves it cannot be a flat earth, they must have had, or it would be an unfair test, an actual flat earth model which was working using perspective and refraction as the optical phenomena of what you call curve. And
or the very best one they could revert to, right, Gleam, or refer to.
Well, it's or a flat earthers, because then you remove the realm of bias. Right. And
sorry, but I kind of agree with you. Like I remember watching one of these huge YouTubers, like millions of whatever, and he was like, as you go closer to the Antarctic, or if the Earth were flat, then we're taking these physics, and well, then it would crush it into a ball. And immediately I was just like, no, if the Earth was flat, then the physics would be different, and that wouldn't happen. And I understand he's using this paradigm to say, well, this doesn't work because of that. But
that was Vsauce, and he incorporated gravity from a Bowler's end into a flat Earth reality.
I will say, due to Gauss's law, there is a paper by A.C. Tort, an Italian professor, and he toyed with the idea. And due to Gauss's law, you can actually have it's about 2,600 mile deep flat Earth, and it would work out that it would not collapse into a ball. However, let's perfectly go on to that second question.
He worked that out, did he, Gleam?
He did. He worked it out as if gravity was real on a flat Earth. How much of coagulation of Earth would need to happen just before it went pop into a ball.
Right. But still, just imagining Earth as a sort of a solidity of rock or something, with no greater. Okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah. Still, you know how everything, all stars, all galaxies, everything is formed flat anyway, because it's obviously the spinning of the dirt, and then it all comes into the middle. Anyway, we interject. So number 2, Tim. What laws of physics? You said, yeah, we know the laws of physics would need to change for a flat Earth, but that was too silly. So, what laws of physics would need to change to accommodate for the Earth being flat? Do you know? And who's playing the banger again?
Playing, yeah, Pete. Really, I think gravitation would be the biggest, like thermodynamics.
It is you, Pete.
He's got someone trapped under his bed going.
Listen, I'll tell you, my computer screen is sort of flashing. You know, there's a problem with the Asus laptop, so maybe it's sort of flashing in and out. So
that's Tim porn bombing you again.
So sorry about that.
It's a new technique.
No, sorry about that. That must be it. Yeah.
Like electrostatic laws, maybe like thermodynamics, conservation of mass and energy. I think gravitation would be the biggest one. I'm actually saying those other ones wouldn't really necessarily need to change. I think gravitation would be the one that would need to if it was flat, I think.
Yeah, okay, no, that's cool. I'd like to chuck at you, and it's later on in the document, all of these are cited as well, but just for the element and the sake of time, I'd like to chuck at you the first postulate of relativity. First postulate.
That sounds naughty.
Yeah, it's basically Einstein had 2 postulates in his relativity. One, which we all know, is the speed of light is the same no matter in what reference frame you're talking about. Okay, now the first one was actually all laws of physics work in whatever reference frame you put them in. Now, I want to talk you through a very, very quick analogy of, you know, the Amora, the cigar-shaped rock? Yeah?
No.
You remember that there was this cigar-shaped rock about 2 years ago that flew done a flyby. It done an odd trajectory, but we won't talk about that. But either way, that cigar, that's not the shape of a sphere, obviously. Now, if I was to send an astronaut to there, let's all fully run with the globe belief. If I was to send an astronaut there and the astronaut stood on that cigar, what laws of physics would break? And in that sentence, in the actual first postulate of relativity, it says none. All laws of physics must hold wherever you put it.
What law do you think would break?
No law of physics can break, or it would not be a law of physics due to general covariance.
I agree, but what's the point of the test then?
No, the point of the thing is that there is a lot of globe earthers do say, "Oh, all laws of physics would have to change." No, the laws of physics are universal and stand on their own 2 feet, no matter what shape of rock, no matter what shape of whatever. If a law of physics is dependent upon a shape or a model, then it's a facet of the model, not a law of physics, which can be used universally.
Liam, what's a postulate? Do you mind describing
it's a rule.
or defining what a postulate
is? A rule. Basically saying that in order for relativity to work, these 2 rules must ring true. The first one, the first one is all laws of physics must be adhered to or must work in all frames of reference. And
Can I ask a quick question and then disappear?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Like 5 minutes ago, someone was talking about a Mount Rainier observation, and just wanted to get the observation, have a look at it.
That was Father Dada, but he's just back from a party, so he mightn't be available.
And Ruhif, I'm not sure if you understood what he was saying about shrinking it down, but maybe remember that one guy's Malibu observation of the mountain that had 6,000 or 7,000 feet being obstructed.
Jay Tolan?
Yeah. You tore that apart.
I'd love to do it with Mount Rainier as well. So.
Can I just say, Ruhif, are you part of Ranty's Panelists, or you're obviously on Discord?
It's on Discord, yeah. I tried calling on Skype a minute ago, but he hung up on me.
Or the anti-analysts.
Completely separate to what Flat Earth Data was just saying. I did a similar Mount Rainier, and it was 7 other mountains, and I managed to completely assume the Earth was flat and managed to reconcile every angular size down to the millimeter on the photograph and calculate all the focal length, etc.
I mean, and I
Did
knew that.
it contradict the globe?
No, there's no such thing. I don't, in my eyes.
Dude, that's all they do. It's just they can backwards compatibilize basically refraction into anything. Like,
No, I did not use refraction. Sorry, apologies.
But
what
was
I
that
used is the
observation
massive.
consistent with a globe, or was it contradictory to a globe?
Well, what I used, no, put it this way: the globe already answers it. Okay. Now, how I answered it was there between the observation. I think it was on one of the South Sisters, it's called, and it was looking at Mount St. Helens was kind of like in the middle, and then Rainier was right at the back. So the thing Rory put out was a big challenge to say there was 2 parts to it. Explain a photograph, and I selected this one randomly on Imager and whatnot, and it's been used basically against the flat earthers, say you can't explain this, and yeah, either way, I can get onto that. I can show you that. I'll show you all my workings. I'll give you the Excel sheet.
You've got me on Skype, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I've got seriously all the calculators that I've used, all the references that I've used, everything. But that's completely separate to what Flat Earth Data was on about, because he was only talking about a couple of mountains.
So you're saying, Gleam, that if the first postulate doesn't hold, the second postulate I take is that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, right?
That's the second postulate of special relativity, which holds for both. Yeah.
So you're saying if one of these postulates can be shown not to be true, then everything that follows based on these postulates, well, necessarily goes out the window, or definitely needs to be re-examined.
It supposedly invalidates the theory, because that's what a theory is there to do. It's basically the foreword to a theory. It says you know how Newton always said, if this is true, then that is true. And when you don't know, then that is a good way of saying it. It's actually a sound way of putting something on paper. Yeah, and
yeah, if you can destroy the initial postulate, then how easy it is for the house of cards to fall. And this is often, as I, incorporate into my thinking, what happens when we question proof, scientific proof or otherwise, for Earth's movement. When there is none, right, then we can revert to what Right to Hand was saying earlier on. A different universe unfolds. And that universe, then, it does unfold. Does that come under Einstein's first postulate that the laws of physics hold at all times in all places? You know what I mean?
Pete, it's already been invalidated, so to say, in the sheer existence of dark matter, the assumed existence of dark matter, because the laws of physics has failed in the reference frame of a rotating galaxy. Because Newton's laws, Kepler's laws, Einstein's relativity itself cannot explain it. And that's why they have to go, oh, we've got this thing which is 26% of the model. We need to smack this in to account for this error. The observational measurement is short or is wrong by a factor of 10. Times 10 out.
So not only did all sort of known laws of physics change with and advances in thinking, maybe the latter, as according to the official story, the latter end especially of the 20th century, that will throw all of Einstein's theorizing out. But Einstein's theorizing is still held primarily to be what would you call it? The major sort of accepted paradigm in terms of explaining the universe to a great degree. Is that correct?
Yes, it has to be, because nothing has come close to being more accurate unless you go down to the particle scale, which is cool.
And I know there's much more to the story, right? I read into all of this stuff years ago. But, well, it's like anything else. It's like, well, if the Earth moves, this is the universe that unfolds itself. Well, remember Einstein, whose brain went missing into 240 pieces. If you don't know anything about that, his brain was said to have been cut. I say it's all storytelling, right? But we were always meant to make our way through the story to what it is sort of telling us about reality. Separate the metaphor from, I guess, I don't know, many people think that the be-all and end-all of NASA, right, is just to fool us, to fake us, to rob your money. Well, that's not the whole story. And that's what I think we were always meant to come towards, which is understanding that the lie is built on the truth, right, Gleam? It has to be. All the great minds. If we, from our armchairs, can figure out with a computer screen that the Earth is flat, all the Earth's militaries, all the Earth's top government officials know it throughout the years, and all of their research would have gone further into that. And if you're sitting there thinking that we're in some sort of pinnacle positions, you're fooling yourself, man. The truth at this stage is known by millions. And what is that truth? Well, I guess we're finding out, right? Tim has definitely been found out tonight.
Guys, can we? Because Gleam is still presenting here, so maybe we can get through this at some point because we're still on page 1.
I feel like when there's a baby gets loads of injections. I feel like that metaphor could be used for loads of interjections. It's either way. Yeah. Quickly, Tim, are you there still, or have you run off? Yeah, no, you're there. Cool, brilliant. So either way, my point was there that Einstein, and rightly so, said that all laws of physics should remain the same no matter where you put them, no matter what shape you put them on. I agree with your exact sentiment, though, and you was exactly right in as much as the laws of electrostatics and stuff like that shouldn't really have to change because they're in a lab. They have no relevance to the shape of the Earth. However, gravity is one thing which should change, but I believe that is a conceptual thing. Again, the observation is the same. You pick up something, drop it. On a flat Earth, they explain it a different way conceptually to a globe. A globe requires this thing called gravity in order to stick you on it.
Yeah, but why do Kepler's laws work out so good, though, for planetary motion?
Only within the domain it was designed from. So only within the solar system.
Yeah, I agree with that. Everything is technically very, very far away. And
okay, let me give you an analogy to see why you cannot say, why did they work out in such a small scale, but then fail in such a large scale? I am a flat earther. Yeah, let me put my flat earth thought experiment on. I've got a 1 meter rule. Yep. I'm now going to go measure every country on Earth, and I'm going to measure it flat, net flat. I'm going to account for all these hills and whatnot, and it's going to be net flat because I've used a 1 meter ruler. Yeah. And
what do you mean measure it flat?
Literally put a ruler on the floor, literally. And now I am physically measuring it, and it's working perfectly. Yeah, because I'm measuring it, and I'm measuring how far I'm off the floor. And everything just with this 1 meter ruler in 1 meter segments, small scales. Each time I'm measuring it and it's all working perfectly fine on my theory that the Earth is flat. Yeah. Now, if I come back to the drawing board with all my measurements and say, everything works out flat. Yep. The obvious stupid reply or the way you would call them stupid is, no, you haven't used a long enough measuring stick. You haven't done this.
You're talking about doing a 1 meter measurement and then you do another one, but on a globe, in reality, it's a tiny bit at a different angle.
I was taking it very. No one's actually going to do that, but that was the kind of explanation that I was trying to explain. That Kepler's laws is just a 1 meter ruler, and we're standing at a certain point on a reference frame, and you put that 1 meter ruler all around you in the solar system, and it works. Yes. But It doesn't work. We've actually provably found that it doesn't work when you use it outside of the solar system. And to think the solar system's a tiny fragment of the Milky Way, then the Milky Way is a tiny fragment of the universe, it's wrong. And a beautiful thing that I've put in this document is a Richard Feynman thing. He says the beauty of science is that it doesn't care who actually done the theory, doesn't care how mathematically beautiful it looks. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And in this case, Newton's laws,
Yeah, I love that quote.
Kepler's laws, Kepler's laws and Einstein's relativity fail to describe the motion and rotation of a galaxy or galaxies outside the solar system, or even the Milky Way suffers from this.
We've had a question from the chat. If you want to answer it, Gleam, explain how we can detect underground ore deposits with gravimeters using density. That's from Esteban Ilibanca.
Sure, gravimeters, and this could sprout off into the electric universe theory, but gravimeters operate off light. Yeah, and there'll be a test proof mass in there as well, which is a slight weight. Yeah, so you can test it just the same as you can test vibrations, and you can send radio signals down, and a certain amount will reflect, and that will allow you to tell you how dense it is down there. It's exactly the same, and it doesn't require, because it says gravi in the title, it doesn't necessarily mean that this requires this external gravity force. Because as I said, gravity exists on a flat Earth. It's just you read the word and you just explain it with either buoyancy and density, relative density, however that concept is explained.
You say light, Gleam. What do you mean when you say light?
I don't even know where I was
you
at.
You say light. Well, how the gravimeter works, and it can detect deposits of ore. You say it works via light. What do you mean by that?
It's got an interferometer built in. A gravimeter nowadays, if you were to take a gravimeter, they've got these big massive ones which are probably the same size as a dining room table. Okay, and they take it up a mountain, and that will give them an accurate measurement of the gravitational constant, and it's done similar to your standard gyro in your phone. Yeah, so if you tip it one side, it will then show a certain measurement, because the weight of the actual proof mass inside, or light, it's done by light as well, which is basically the Sagnac effect. It's the Sagnac effect.
That's do you understand that sounds like intricate technology there. Do you understand the workings?
A Gleam, just to clarify, it's the vestibule system, right? That's the inspiration of the interferometer and the inner ears, the inner workings of the ear, right?
I believe that. I don't honestly know. You'd probably be teaching me something new there.
Well, the vestibular, thank you. The accelerometer is the inspiration of the accelerometer in our phone comes from the vestibular system.
No, I apologize. I thought we was talking about light there.
Well, you said the phone. You said the phone. You said the gyro in your phone would detect.
Yes,
but it's not.
It's the sense of balance. Yes.
Yeah, the accelerometer. But see, the thing is with the accelerometer, it creates its own 3D space, right? It's just like a normal gyro.
Yes, it's a Cartesian coordinate system from itself. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not detecting actually anything. It's just detecting its own.
So it's own inertia. Yeah.
Yeah, its own forces.
Mm-hmm. But hang on, can I just clarify? You're talking about an instrument the size of a table, which can detect ore deposits beneath the ground, sometimes many miles. Is this?
Oh no, the actual instrument, the actual sensor, Pete, is tiny. It's you can snip off a couple of millimeters of a cigarette butt, and it's about that big.
But does it send a signal? Is that what it does? It finds ore deposits underground? Detects the gravitational imbalance. Is that what it does?
There is also an antenna system then, which fires out different frequencies. Now, if you understand, obviously, reflection of AM like AM will be able to penetrate things like walls and stuff, but it won't go through a mountain. Yeah, and then the higher the frequency, the less it will penetrate. The less material, solid material, it will penetrate.
Okay, there's been a follow-up question. It's from the same guy, Esteban Libarca. Says, Gleam, a spring with a mass, it works the same.
That is a proof mass. That is exactly what I'm saying. So you're using its own mass and whatever corners go in. So if you put one of these things up against, if you imagine it's a trampoline. Here we go. That's better. If you imagine it's a trampoline, what they do is they carry this big box up, they level it. They've got to make sure it's perfectly level, spirit leveled and whatnot. And then what they do is they've got to allow it to settle, and there is a vacuum inside of it. Yeah, big tube. And they suck out the vacuum, and what will happen is that there will be the proof mass will be as if it was floating in midair. However, it isn't. It's supported, and whatever slight movement, yeah. So let's say it's supported on each corner by a bit of string. Now let's say whatever slight movement towards the mountain it's going to tilt in one direction. Yeah, because there's more mass there. Yeah.
Gleam, so is your whole thing, this needs to be kind of brought out to the forefront. Does gravity exist at least on a solar system scale? Because you agreed with Kepler's laws. I think you believe in satellites and how they stay up there. You agree that when you drop something, it falls probably around negative 9.81 meters per second squared. Just wondering, is it a solar system thing, or once we get further out, you start to say that it's fake? Or I'm not really sure where you're going with this.
It's not fake.
Can I ask Tim a question? He just talked about the negative 9.8.
I just asked him a question.
Yeah, I know, but why don't you ever
Gleam would say he could go either way.
Yeah, but why don't you ever use Coulomb's law? The Coulomb's law is the same formula as gravity, right? But you're implying a negative 9.8 due to an attraction force. That's why you put the negative there, correct? Instead of a positive force, it's a negative force in your understanding.
Gleam, can you answer that question? So does gravity exist at least at the solar system level, or what? What's the argument here?
Okay, there was a subset of a subset. So Newton's is a subset of Einstein's. Yeah, you can have another theory which is a subset which explains both, but then explains why these galaxies are not spinning. That would be a
subset of a subset of a subset of a subset.
Yeah, exactly that. So,
but isn't that kind of like, isn't that presupposing the uniformity of nature? I mean, could it be the case that things that are that far away, or let's just say the galaxies and stuff like that, have a different set of physics that works differently? Or,
of course, you can't rule that out. However, the thing that you are ruling out without testing, going back to question 1, is the flat Earth. It could be an easy thing that all of our theories work on a little tiny local scale, but when you take all those theories out at the large scale, they fail because it is actually a flat Earth, and they would work. If you could pretend it was a sphere, everything would work. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. I can't think of why people can see all these observations that literally lead to a sphere, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, the sun, the moon, all of this stuff, and then be like, well, it could be something else if we like bend time here, or maybe look at it a different way. Perhaps, science isn't an absolute kind of thing. It's more about testing with different hypotheses. So if you put something forth that would actually compete with the globe Earth, and that's what we've been looking for 6 years, maybe we'd get somewhere.
Here's the problem, Tim. The problem is you're looking up when you just had a whole bunch of reifications that involved looking up. I tested the same thing by looking at the mathematics of the Earth curve, the formulation of Earth curve based on the radius that they give us. If I take elevation and height data and I scale it down and I apply the curvature radius and I also scale it down, I'll have 2 different models, wouldn't I not?
You would. Is this the Mount Rainier observation you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I'd have 2 different models. Yeah. This is what I've done to see if the radius of the... So this, what I notice is in your curvature formulas, you have an arc. Every single curvature calculator that exists known to man, there's a position from the observer to the horizon part. You have an arc there. And every time I ask you what causes the arc, I get silence. See, what I did is I took that arc and I reduced it to 1/100,000 scale between the observation and the distance. or in this case, this is the position from Mount St. Helens to Mount Jefferson, which is over 110, well, about 110 miles. So if I use
that observation contradict a globe, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is if I take two models and I apply elevation data to one, elevation data to the other, but I also apply the drop, they're not going to match. Now the whole point is
reality?
Does an observation let me finish.
Okay. Randy, if you check general,
let me finish. Because if I'm looking at the photograph of the observation in reality, the observation doesn't match the smaller scale version, while my reduced flat Earth scale still matches observation. Because here's the clincher, the panoramic picture I took. The panoramic picture I took must maintain a horizon line as you go across. Well, you can do that in my small scale model, but you cannot do that in your small scale with the curve, because you will see noticeable dip drop on both the z-axis and the y-axis. Do you understand? That's why.
Sorry, you're saying it's a 360-degree panorama, and because the horizon...
No, it's a panoramic. A panoramic is not 360 degrees.
Okay, whatever. So it's not 360 degrees. What about the observation does not match the globe Earth?
So we both agreed that if I took the elevation and height data on both models, scaled them down to 1/100,000 scale, they won't match because one will have a drop, one won't. Correct? Well, if I compare...
They're different models, right? They're different models.
No, dude, there's no different models. The mountains are still the same size, or same height. The distance is the same. The difference is the drop calculation. Okay? This is noticeable. It would be noticeable standing on Mount Rainier to have, if your radius is 3,959 miles, there would be noticeable drop at this height of Mount St. Helens. This is what my scaled down model suggests, proving that there's no 3,959 miles. And then if you want a secondary set of, if you want a secondary or a subset of qualifications in this matter, we can talk about observations at 1 foot elevation where it claims your model horizon is at 1.22 or 1.32 miles away. You telling me that in your model, a 1 foot observer is going to have the edge ball of the Earth at 1.22 miles away?
Does the Mount Rainier observation contradict the globe model?
So when I scale it down, it contradicts the observation. When I scale it down, either model, and I take a panoramic, you don't have you have noticeable curvature on the X and Y axis on the scale globe version. On the flat Earth model, it matches the actual observation taken from Mount St. Helens.
So you're saying the X, you're saying you should see left to right curvature.
There's no curvature on any axis when you scale down just elevation and distance to 1/100,000 scale. If you scale down the 3,959 model, you will have curvature on both the Y and the X-axis.
You're saying the horizon rises to eye level on the flat Earth model?
So hold on. This is the point, is that in their curvature calculators, the arc is the whole point. Anyway, that's just besides the fact. The reality is, take your mathematic model, add the drop to it, in any observation, it doesn't match what we see. It doesn't match observation of aircraft.
What about that picture doesn't match?
Because it would be physicality. What do you mean? What if that picture doesn't match? I'm showing you a panoramic of mine that has elevation and distance data reduced to 1/100,000 scale. I took the panoramic and I put it right next to the real observation done from Mount St. Helens. And all you get is the same effect, which is angular size change based on distance. There's no drop in the calculation, because when you do take the model and you do add the drop over a distance of 6 feet in the scaled down version, there is a 2 centimeter drop, give or take. You can work out the math between 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters. This is noticeable if you go to take a panoramic. It doesn't match. So in other words, if your ball model, if the Earth was a ball, then you would be able to see curvature at that height elevation.
Left to right curvature or hidden amount?
You would be able to see curvature, period, on the X and Y at that height elevation. You don't. There's no curvature whatsoever. All there is distance and elevation. To confirm that data...
This is way too hard.
To confirm my data, I went into Blender. Blender has this wonderful plugin that I can use that gives me model information of any land mass I want a picture of. It gives me the elevation and distance data. That's it. I can go to Lake Pontchartrain, take a zoom over it, collect the data, zoom into it. I can increase the elevation data and show you there's no curvature in Pontchartrain Lane. I can show you actually where the bridges arc, where boats go underneath. So, Mr. Sandley zooming in on one of those arches, right? One of those little curves that the boats go on. Point is that there's no curvature. You can scale down the mathematics and apply it in these models, and it doesn't match. If you take distance and elevation, scale it down.
What about it doesn't match?
So so for instance, in the natural observation from the panoramic from Mount St. Helens, in reality, you can see Mount Jefferson if you zoom in. Okay. If we take that and we take the globe model and we looked at the observation, that Mount St. Jefferson would be tilting downward. It doesn't tilt downward. It rises up, just like in my actual demonstration. So this is the difference in your Earth curvature calculators.
You mean tilting backwards with curve?
No. I'm saying in your Earth curvature calculations, you have an arc. What causes that arc?
The Earth's a globe. What do you think?
Yeah. So there you go. So you're reifying the ground rising up as Earth curvature arc. Where I demonstrate in my model, it's not Earth curvature arc, it's on a plane. And therefore you have angular size change based on distance. In your model, you'll have
let's get back to Mount Jefferson.
In your model, you'll have angular size change, but then you'll also have drop. You'll actually see sphere at some point if you were to scale it down to 1/100,000 scale. Absolutely, because the radius is what, 209 feet or 260 feet? I can't remember what the radius is. 209 feet, I think.
Mount Jefferson. What about Mount Jefferson tells you it's not a globe?
So the distance between Mount Rainier and Mount Jefferson is 110 miles. When I look at the elevation data that I get right from NASA, it's only distance and elevation. There's no curvature. So according to your globe model over a distance of 110 miles, if we were to take a tangent line from Mount Helens and drew it straight across, at that end point, what's that?
So at eye level, you take a tangent at eye level?
That drop between at the end of Mount Jefferson, that point would be about 8,000 feet. So it's a 1.5 mile drop. Okay. You reduce that drop into a smaller model, you will see it's noticeable. Just like how you take your globe model already, it's already reduced down to 1 in 36 million scale or something stupid. I can't remember the scaling of it. But
if you do it mathematically, the scale is irrelevant.
It doesn't matter. For instance, if you had any kind of curvature in a long piece and you were to reduce its size to scale it down, you would see more curvature. Do you understand? Because you're scaling it down.
Yeah,
do you understand?
But should Mount Jefferson be seen? Should it be seen?
Absolutely. You can see it in the panoramic.
You can see it, right? So that doesn't contradict
the point
it.
Is,
what contradicts
the point is there's no dip or no drop downward. And this, you'll only find that out.
How are you measuring that?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked. Do you know how to take a panoramic? This is the whole features. Yeah. Sure. Okay, so when you take a panoramic, it's about 180 degrees. You go from one side of the frame and you keep it horizontal to the other side of the frame. Do you agree?
Perfectly horizontal?
There's a fucking arrow. When you look at it, the idea is to aim. Okay, bud, good job. Good job, bud. You know.
Can you think you can hold your phone within like 0.05 of a degree?
That's not the conversation now, is it? Whether I can hold the phone. The conversation is you drag the phone from one screen to one side to the other side to make 180 degree, and you try to keep that arrow as horizontal as possible. We're not talking about whether you got shaky hands from drinking too much, buddy. We're talking about whether you can take the arrow and drag it 180 degrees across, creating a horizontal line. What happens is if you're not perfect, the fucking software will stitch it together for yourself, okay? Giving you a horizontal line. Do you understand? Well, if we scale this down and we took a panoramic, my flat Earth scaled to 1/100,000 scale just using distance and elevation matches observed reality. In other words, on the y-axis...
Does it contradict the globe?
Yes, again, buddy.
Why? Why does it?
Because the Earth has no curvature.
Ridiculous.
The Earth has no curvature.
What about the photo? What is it about the photo that contradicts the globe? You talked about Mount Jefferson and you agreed it should be seen and it is seen. That doesn't contradict it.
The photograph gives me an opportunity to calculate the height of all the mountains, the distance to the mountains, and then to scale it down. The idea was, if I'm taking a picture of a ball, standing at Mount Helens, then if I scaled it down, it shouldn't match my observed reality because I'm going from a ball to a flat Earth. But ironically, it matches my observation when I'm just using elevation and height data. Do you understand?
I understand that observations. There are some observations
so I'm taking a photograph.
I'm taking a photograph.
Listen, bud, the photograph's already taken. It's a panoramic. It's a real one on Mount St. Helens. It's a big, long, horizontal shot. 180 degrees of horizontal image. Yeah,
it's a horizontal shot, baby.
Okay, do you get it yet, buddy? So the point is, it's a 180.
You get me yet?
It's a 180 panoramic with all the mountains in it. So if I'm on a ball, well, I should have to add drop into my scale down model, but I don't.
How are you determining that there's no drop in the photo?
Because I took the photograph and I applied only two factors, elevation and distance. I scaled it down and it matches observable reality.
Yeah. And if
so
you
there's
add
no
in
curve.
Drop, what happens?
I'm not.
No, that's an
Mount
error
Jefferson,
in logic.
you can't see it. You can't see Mount Jefferson. You'll actually see just the tip of it if you scale it down. You don't see as much as you see on the flat plane that you have of existence. The point is, anybody. I'm 8,500 feet, 8,500 meters.
This is so painful.
Yeah, I'm 8,500 meters.
Hello.
How much refraction? How much refraction is 8,500 meters?
How can you not understand what he's saying? He didn't
just being
have
a
to
doofus.
add in any drop.
I'm asking for a very simple, say, on a flat Earth, Mount Jefferson should be higher than Mount Rainier, or on a globe, it would be the other way around.
What he's saying is on a flat Earth, it's exactly what the photo is. It matches that.
I'm completely fine that there's many observations.
Anywhere.
There are many observations that can fit both models. We're looking for an observation that fits one model.
Fit both. He just said that on the scaled down model, the ball version, you wouldn't see as much as you see in this picture. It's scaled down to fit a flat Earth.
And then that's your excuse. The point is the reason why this observation is good to use is because there's very little refraction. It's not over water, it's over land, and it's in high elevation. So there's very little refraction.
Did you use?
So point is, bud, you're not going to be able to go to it. This is why I chose this observation. You're not going to be able to use it as an excuse. Not only you're not allowed to use it as an excuse, as I download the actual data from supposed satellite information. Don't get excited there, bud. And in that information I use in Blender, it matches my scaled down flat Earth version. Are you getting that?
I understand that an observation can match the flat Earth.
I don't think he's understanding still. I'm going to repeat it again. I hate to do this to the audience. I just imported elevation and distance data, and it matches my scaled down version. Not only does it match my scaled down version, it matches the fucking panoramic observation that was done in reality. Because there's no curvature at any point. So listen, do you understand that in Blender, I'm actually downloading elevation and distance data provided by NASA? And there is no curvature. Listen, there is no curvature between mounts. Do you understand, though? Are you registering? In Blender, go look at this yourself. Well, does it register, though?
No, he's not registering. No.
Does it?
He may have heard you.
Why am I, when I'm looking at the Earth model, I'm just looking at the 3,959 mile radius you claim. You want to jerk off the refraction? Go ahead, dude. It ain't going to save you here. The point is, it's just elevation and distance data that I got, and it matches my math. It matches exactly what I did in reality, which is take the I can't remember how high Mount St. Helens is. 8,500 meters.
Do that, jerk off to refraction. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, they all do. That's all they got. That's all they got. That's why it's like screaming the name refraction when you're getting laid. Refraction. Oh baby, refraction.
That's a parabolic trajectory. That's not refraction.
Yeah, exactly. The point is that there's no curve data. It's elevation and distance data. That's it.
I understand.
I'm not going to discuss it with you any further. I'm not going to discuss it with any further because you just won't acknowledge that I can have access to elevation and distance data. I can scale it down in reality, and it matches observable reality. Not only that, I can take a panoramic myself with my camera, and it matches both premises.
I find it necessary to patronize everybody. I mean, why do you guys talk like this to people? Do you understand the difference?
You're cutting out, by the way.
Do you understand that he doesn't acknowledge the fact that I got satellite?
I understand that you think this observation matches the flat Earth.
Why would I get
Does
satellite?
it contradict the globe?
Yes, that's the whole point, Numpty.
5 times. Paige even came in and clarified that he was saying yes.
Oh my God, this is like pulling teeth.
Can we move on, maybe? Because this isn't going anywhere. And
yes,
Gleam.
Can I show something? Just to back that, while we was doing all that, either way, I was getting
If
up
this
my
observation
radio.
disproves the globe.
No, listen, you got to understand my stance, okay? Pete's cracking up. I'm an agent, okay, to start with. And
You're an angel, Gleam.
yeah, I will say I am not here for my personal opinion of proven and disproven. I'm here to show you some data that I've done. You make your own conclusion, you add your refraction magic, you do whatever. However, what I
10
did
seconds.
with Rory, let me do screen share. Will it let me do whole screen?
Screen.
Yes, screen one.
Well, whilst you're
There's
setting
a
that,
gleam in
whilst
your eye,
you're
and I'm wondering why, for it never should be there at all.
right, well, whilst you're setting that up, Gleam, I just want to say that we do have Aaron that's presented as well some stuff. View of
okay, sorry, I didn't mean.
No, it's fine. It's you can do your thing. I'm just going to say that it's a view of Mount Rainier from Victoria, BC, and yeah, it's quite conclusive that you can see Mount Rainier from that distance.
Should you not be able to see it on a globe?
That's
well,
not
this is
argument.
the simple question.
Listen, the argument is this: that there's noticeable curvature when you scale it down, and when you do at the end of Jefferson, it will tilt down so you don't see as much. Do you understand? So yes, it doesn't match observer reality.
Holy cow! Will Gleam ever be able to finish?
Yeah, he will. Well, just let me just say that if the calculations are correct and the distances are correct, then no, you shouldn't be able to see it. It's 177 miles away. Elevation was 60 feet. There should be over 3 miles of curve. And
last question, then I'll go. Did you include any refraction planet data?
From Mount St. Helens to Mount Jefferson is 110 miles, which is 177 kilometers. Scaled down to 1/100,000 scale, I'm working in centimeters. Okay.
Did you include any refraction?
So the reason why I didn't need to include refraction,
No,
buddy
okay,
boy,
all right.
it's because
Goodbye.
I'm hot.
Please let him.
Yeah. But here's where you're wrong. I backed up.
He's gone. Here's where he's wrong, and here's where he's gone.
I got him everything that he wanted. Either way.
You're presenting it now. You know, it's up there for you to show.
If my calculations of distance are correct, Flat Earth Data will
He'll still be
himself
watching.
in 10 seconds.
He'll still be watching.
No shit.
He's obviously ran off before you show this.
Yeah, if you click on the actual thing, Ranty, I don't know whether you're showing.
Yeah,
it
I'm
now
showing
or
it. Yeah, I'm showing it. Yeah.
What this basically was is that Rory threw out that challenge, and I'm sure you were involved on it. Everyone knew about it. He said £5,000 to the person who can show me a photograph of somewhere long like Mount Rainier and it on a flat Earth, and show me it working in as much as where the topology should lie, in as much as which should be the highest one in the photograph, which should be the lowest one. Yeah, so physically in the photograph, let me show you the photo, it's right there. So he's saying I need a flat earth calculator to be able to tell me, right, that one is that low and this one, and then these go down like that. Yeah, so I've gone in with the complete view of, right, let's assume the whole earth is flat, let's go in and get the topology of the whole land. And this grey line here is prominence. Everyone's heard of prominence?
Yes, and Mount Rainier, if I believe, in the whole world is within the top 5 of from sea level prominence. Meaning, if I'm sitting in Puget Sound, looking at Mount Rainier, there's a road where I constantly gain elevation all the way up to base camp, constantly from sea level, which is only about 125 miles, possibly. You know, it's an actual sea level prominence, not a terrain prominence.
Yeah, if you can see it there, exactly that. Where the photograph was taken from which is South Sister, which was here, and that was at 3,000 and odd meters. You can see there that the total lay of the land goes down, but these are the prominence of the landscape of the mountains going across the landscape and what the distance is from the observer. So this is like the side-on view, let's say, of what Google does with its when you do the side-on strip thing, but it's showing the difference between the mountain and the lay of the land itself. So if you can see there, from there, there's a 1,600 meter drop down to Mount Rainier, or there is, it's a few hundred. So what I did, basically put them all in a spreadsheet. I worked out angular size of each thing, how much it should be sticking up, basically, and then I even went down to the camera, because I got this off the internet. I selected the original photo, dragged this into Photoshop, selected the amount of pixels per degree, because this was just 0.96 degrees. This should have been, this mountain. Now this is completely excluding any refraction. Okay, so I just done it raw dog. That is 1 degree. I think this is the shortfall. So that in total is 1 degree. Yep, so it was 0.89, degrees. That should have been. Whatever. Either way, but I managed to come up with this graph, which basically give me the pixels where it should be, because, I missed out the Pinnacle 1 there. I managed to work out what camera was used, what focal length was set at, because he had all his EXIF information in there. And I managed to work out what per pixel per degree should have been. And then I've got this other one which tells me how big or how many millimeters on a photo it should be per mountain. So then I figured all this out, fed it all through the calculator, and then created this graph. And that there, let me see if I've got a zoomed in version of that bit. Yep. So this here brings you out, assuming the Earth is flat, again, no curvature added, no radius, no nothing. Assuming the Earth is flat, this gives you the exact heights of which one should be highest in the photo versus lowest. So, and then Rory just skedaddled out on the scene.
Just when he was about to lay the hammer down.
Well, he owed me $5,000.
Did
that
he?
That was the whole thing.
Oh shit! Right.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was the whole thing. He said you had to do that, and that was mission complete. And then he said the second part of the challenge is you've got to show me in any calculator of the globe Earth curvature where it excludes perspective. Yeah. So either way, on every single one, absolutely none of them at the time. And bear in mind, Mick West has now actually added angular size and raw angular size onto his calculator since then. But before then, none of them had it on there.
There's another thing.
Say added on there. What do you mean?
If you look at Mick West now, at the bottom bit below all the geometric bit, there is now a raw angular size, raw angle below the horizon based on angular size.
Right, but it just tells you the angular size. It doesn't exclude perspective without telling you how big it looks.
Negator, before you get into it, I'd like to tell Gleam. I lived in the Pacific Northwest for most of my life.
Yeah, just one sec.
Someone's talking, Negator.
Sorry, Nigga.
Oh,
I would just like to tell Gleam there's an interesting aspect to Mount Rainier, and that is to the east. It's pretty much directly to the east of Mount Rainier is a another peak called Little Tahoma, and it's part of the Mount Rainier prominence, but it comes up on its own. It's about 11,500 feet. So when folks are taking pictures of Mount Rainier, if you just remember that Little Tahoma, if you can see it on the east, so if you're looking from the south, it'd be on your right. If you're looking from the north, it'd be on your left. That there's only a 3,000 foot difference between those two, from the peak of Mount Rainier at 4,500 foot down to 11,500. So, or sorry, 4,000 foot. Sorry, 3,000 foot. Yeah. And check that one out, because you can always see Little Tahoma. Always.
Right, listen, I want to share the screen for just a sec, guys, because Aaron's just put me in touch with something, and I think you'll be interested to take a look at this. So, this is from this is Mount Rainier from Victoria, BC. Now, I did a quick check on the distances, and I get 132 miles. I don't get 177, but I get 132 miles to Mount Rainier from Victoria, BC. Can you see the? Can you see how much of the mountain range is visible? Well, Mount Rainier here. That's just from one image. Here's another image. Look at this. This is another one. Mount Rainier from Victoria, BC. Well, guess what? None of that should be visible. Not a single thing on a globe.
Ranty, can I share my screen real quick? I brought the blender in showing you Mount Rainier.
Did you do it from Victoria, BC?
I did. I can go in and probably do a section of land, maybe even that far, but it has a maximum amount of range. I guess I can actually import the elevation and distance data. Like, I can't go too big. Yeah. But if you look, I just have this Mount Rainier piece out. I don't know if I've already showed it on your show. Maybe I have.
Not yet. But Negator,
so what I did is
Negator, could you just tell me about this though? I mean, you can obviously see Mount Rainier in this image. It shouldn't be there. I mean, it should be gone to Earth curve, right? Why do we see it?
What's the observer's height? 60
feet.
In that photo right there?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, or this one. Hang on, that one. There's this one. There's another one down here. Another one from 60 feet. Look.
Right, but where are we verifying this 60 feet from?
Well, how many feet do you want to? Can you see the water down here? I mean, how many feet do you want me to give you? Do you want me to give you a mile observational height? No, I didn't think so.
Well, I mean that's a problem, right? Like, you just made up the 60 feet piece.
No. I was told 60 feet, and to be honest, you can see the tree lines here that are just in the foreground with the shoreline down below. You know, I'm not going to argue with 60 feet. I can give you 100 feet if you want. None of that mountain should be seen. None of that mountain should be seen.
Yeah, I'll give you.
If someone told you 60 feet, and
I'll give you 300.
So you're gonna
Google images 60 feet.
So let me get this right. So you're going to argue about a few feet observer height and just completely ignore the entire mountain that you're looking at.
Well, first of all, we need to know the observer height. Second of all, you can give me a little bit. I can tell you whether that's actually the entire mountain or not.
The first image was a licensed Getty stock photo. Licensed.
Right.
So
right. Does it list observer height in there?
Or not, right?
How about that one then? Victoria, BC, Mount Rainier, and Seattle in the fading light. Would you? I mean, what observational height would you think is here at sea level? I mean, you can see the water just down there. There's the, what sort of observation height there?
That's Little Tahoma there.
Seeing the water means he's zoomed in heavily, and he could be very far away from that water. But no, I'll never agree that just assuming or asserting or making up an observer height is a good way to go about these sorts of things.
And Ranty, there seems to be some discrepancy here. There is what's called a Victoria, Washington. It's still part of the States. And then there's Victoria, BC. And so some of these photos here, I'm not buying that, because that looks like a photo from North Puget Sound. It could be, maybe 60, 80 miles away, but it's not from Canada. Okay, so I think Negator is a little bit right. We need to verify where the photos come from and all that.
I'll try to check that out in Blender, Ranty. I'll see if I can get an observation from Victoria, BC to Mount St. Helens, bringing in the elevation distance data. Give me a second.
Here's another one, Mount Baker from Victoria, BC.
Which is much closer. Mount Baker's much closer.
one. Seems to be a few though that are showing this Mount Rainier.
Oak Bay, is that too close?
Where's
Go
Oak
back
Bay?
to that Mount. Go back to that Mount Baker one.
Which one was that? That one.
Was that the one?
I don't know. It says Mount Baker.
Upper middle, I think upper middle was Baker.
Because Baker's at 70 miles.
Up middle. Up middle right there.
This one?
Yeah, I think that's Baker.
There's another one.
Yeah, that looks strangely similar, right? Even at 70 miles.
We'll let Gleam after this continue.
What do you mean strangely similar? I mean,
mountains.
mountains. What do you mean? Mountains kind of look the same from far away, right?
Does actually. I have to give him that. It does.
Yeah, well, maybe that's part of the problem here is we don't know which mountains we're looking at.
Okay, so let's
smugly.
I've heard. I
Check
have
one
heard.
in general.
This is why I looked it up, because I've been to Vancouver, BC when I was younger. You know, you go up there when you're 18, you can drink and party at the clubs, but I never looked south to see if I could see Mount Rainier. It's just such a dominant thing, you never even notice it, right?
Never got a shag either, Aaron.
What's that?
Never got a shag either.
Exactly. That's what we're doing up there. Did you say shagging?
Shagging, yeah, exactly.
Never got a shag either.
Pete, you really need to find a woman. That's
Well, he said that they're up there drinking and partying up in Mount Rainier and St. Helens Gap. I don't know what to
I did not say that, but that sounds better.
He doesn't miss a beat. If anybody says anything that sounds rude, Pete's all over it.
I know.
He's trying to visit, Pete wants to go visit Mount Helen.
So let's go. So I've been to Mount Helens too, but check
Innuendo
this out.
Shay.
Go. Do we think we could trust Getty Images, right? Because that's where we get space shit. I mean, whatever this company is called, Getty.
They do a lot of psyops, the Boston bombing, a lot of Getty Images.
Sure. Right? But we're supposed to trust it. Okay, so
I get to trust everything.
Freelance thing.
Yeah, they're licensed and all this crap. So I was not looking just for your random, Google search of Mount Rainier from Canada. I was actually looking for a Getty image or whatever. So the one I showed Ranty is a Getty image licensed photo.
Yeah.
And if you do the math, now you might want to double check where I got the distance. I just typed in Vancouver, BC to Mount Rainier itself. I don't know if they're taking it all the way to the peak or a part on the prominence, or I don't know where they're. You got 138, I got 177. We're only talking about 50 miles, which is less than 1 degree in the baller world, right?
So this one, it looks to me like it's come from, is it Dreamtime or something?
Yeah, but look down for the license there. I showed the whole.
Oh yeah, from Getty. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yep. That looks identical to the Mount Baker photos that you were just looking at.
Let's verify. Yeah, let's verify.
Yeah. Gleam posted a picture of Rainier from Oak Bay near Victoria. And
you know what? That
different.
does not look like Mount Rainier. You're right. Like I said, I lived there most of my life, and that does not look like it. So let's try to find one.
Yeah.
So did you have something to present there, Negator?
Like a tag team.
No.
When Tim left,
I'm happy with my contribution so far.
I'm still not even 3 of 5 questions through.
Yeah, go on with those, Gleam, while I head off.
Neg's awfully easily pleased then.
Okay, I'm out of here anyway, so take it easy.
Should have been called negative.
See you later, Pete.
Have a good one, Pete, if you're going.
Pervy Pete's gone.
Innuendo Shay. Classic. Right. So
if Gleam's ready, I got something to present.
yeah, the third question was about ether. I don't know whether anybody wants to go into a discussion on ether, but it was which experiment or test disproved the existence of ether. There's a massive common misconception, which is basically the thing I was pulling Craig on, and I think he knows he's wrong. That's why he would prefer to be in there with Spurs, giving Spurs a good time.
Giving him a good time.
But does any globe earther want to answer that?
Well, if anybody wants to hop on in, I'll put the link in the description right now. What is it you've got to present? Did you say you had something to present as well, Rakia?
Yeah, if Rakia wants to go on one. But I've
No, I was just joking on how many times we've interrupted Gleam.
So, because you're late to the party, Neg, yeah, were you here when we were doing question 1 and 2? No? Okay. So, can just to very quickly run through them with you, can you conclude anything about the flat Earth model if you've never even tested it yourself?
You mean, can I logically deduce in my head? Is that possible? Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, can you conclude, can you say the flat Earth cannot do this, or cannot do that, or cannot do this, or the flat Earth would have to do this? Can you make any assumption or conclusion about the flat Earth model if you've not tested it?
I can use logic and rationale to draw conclusions, for sure.
Okay, so it's...
Do I need a test, or do you need a test? What do you mean by test?
Yeah, that's.
So you're saying by thought experiment alone?
I'm saying there's things in this world that you can conclude correctly via thought experiment alone, and the flat Earth includes or is involved in that.
Okay, that's an answer. And then what laws of physics would need to change to accommodate for the Earth being a flat Earth instead of a globe?
Have you moved down this thing, because it just seems to be stuck on that first page at the minute?
Yeah, no, I did move down. I was showing the individual, and we was actually on question 3, but I just because Negator didn't get the first 2, I just want to see if if his answers are different to Tim's.
Okay.
So just quickly, what law of physics, or what laws or law of physics would need to change to accommodate for the Earth being flat?
Like all of them? I don't have them all memorized, but I do know that a number of them don't work.
Okay, just to quickly recap, you really need to check out the first postulate of relativity and that tongue going, na 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 na. No law of physics would need to change to accommodate for the Earth being flat. If they do not work on Earth being flat, then they cannot be a law of physics. The laws of physics should hold in whatever reference frame you put them in.
Oh, yeah. So it's just a semantical gotcha question? No,
it's the whole principle of relativity. That is the first postulate of relativity, to say that all laws must work no matter where you put them. So the example I gave earlier was the Amora cigar-shaped rock, that basically if an astronaut landed on them, the same law of physics like gravity, electrostatics would still work on that cigar-shaped rock.
It wouldn't work in the way that we observe reality now.
It would work. You would just get a different output because you would have a different shaped input and mass and etc. etc. The law should still hold no matter what you use it on. Because if it has to change because the model has to change, then it's a facet of the model, not a universal law.
Well, if we had a giant flat surface as large as Earth, all the laws would remain the same. Now, what would not happen is we would observe reality doing the same things we do now. And that's the context I thought you were asking me the question in. So, of course, the laws would remain the same. But you got to phrase your question with a bit more information.
Okay, either way, let's skip to the next one. That's cool, thanks. Which experiment or test disproved the existence of ether? And I'll scroll down to this one because
I don't know. One of the ones that followed the Michelson-Morley. That was one of the first in that chain of tests.
Yep. Now, I will say Michelson-Morley never, ever once disproved the existence of ether.
I didn't say it did.
No, okay. None of them disproved the existence of ether.
Okay. Not individually, no.
Yeah, no, not collectively either.
Well, folks who did them disagree.
No, I would love to see a citation.
No, they don't. Yeah, you're wrong, Ned.
This was going to be brought up on the Fight the Flat Earth show. Fight the Flat Earth, for example. I'm not holding in as a straw man to you because you may not say this, and you did not just say this. However, I think I would love to see the paper that says we can categorically prove that ether is not real, because I have a citation now from Mainstream Science of this year, February this year, that says impossible. Or that is impossible. So Michelson-Morley, just to correct Fight the Flat Earth, he says in his video about the Michelson-Morley experiment disproving ether, they never detected a fringe. That is incorrect. They said here, the displacement was certainly less than a 20th part of this and probably less than a 14th part. Okay, so they did get a fringe shift, but not as much as was expected, and that was the null result. Now,
are you talking to me or the audience?
I'm talking to mainly a common misconception that globe earthers have, which I do believe that you have, because you're thinking that the ether has left science, and it has never ever once left science at all. It's firmly used today. I'll show you some papers from today or this month.
Supremely not interested.
No, that's cool, but it's mainstream science.
Well, that just says everything.
But either way, the second assumption that a lot of globe earthers do say is that got rid of, that completely disproved ether's existence. And it says here, no, what it does is it contradicts Lorentz's idea of the ether. Now, just to roll along the story, Lorentz then went away and in his mathematical genius, come up with time dilation and length contraction, of which he worked very closely with Einstein. Einstein took those two mathematical ideas and produced space-time by putting him in Minkowski's space-time. Now, on that, put it this way, the whole thing followed Lorentz's ether theory. And still today, neo-Lorentzian relativistic ether is still used commonly in science, or can be used equally in science, should I say, as space-time. They're mathematically identical, and there's loads of citations here which show you, which are just standard wiki, but it is just the standard story of relativity. Now, later on in life, Paul Dirac and the history of quantum electrodynamics basically rediscovered the ether or the luminiferous ether, which is the background energy of empty space, which is commonly used, which is the whole of quantum mechanics is based on it. It's background dependent on the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Again, loads of citation there. But as I say, papers 2020, basically using Einstein ether theory to try and resolve dark physics, dark matter and dark energy. So it's being commonly used in science today. It's not left at all. Yeah, the concept may have changed slightly to be relativistic rather than an absolute frame. But here, put it this way, February 2020, we have no proof that ether exists, but can never prove the negative that no ether exists. All that we can demonstrate, as we have demonstrated, is that if ether exists, it has no properties to affect the matter and radiation that we do observe. Okay? So there's no way to disprove ether. Ether can be used as a concept, and it's mathematically identical to space-time. And it is used. Physicists do use it. And these are all mainstream. These are not like flat earthers. I mean, this one alone.
The ether doesn't help the flat earth. So I don't know why you're telling them all this.
No, it kind of does, because there is a concept of the ether disproving the spinning of Earth, which would work in favor of what Tim was on about earlier. But if you look here, this is Durban University using this. This is mainstream. This is not some flat earther just putting something on Arvix. Okay, so
okay, but it doesn't help FE's cause or argument in any way.
So put it this way, what it does is it clears up a common misconception, because I'm not showing you flat earthers saying on YouTube, duh, the ether does exist. I'm showing you mainstream science saying, duh, you were wrong to think that it didn't exist. It's used commonly in science. So it's cleared up.
Using commonly is not a really accurate way to say that.
It is.
It's not.
Okay.
Tell them about quantum foam, Gleam.
Yeah, that was all cited.
Hang on, he said he's supremely uninterested in anything to do with the ether. So where does he get off coming and telling you you're wrong when he literally has no interest in looking at the subject? So he obviously knows nothing about it.
Put it this way.
It's very unfair of you, Neg, to come out and say, no. I'm very uninterested in this, but I'm going to tell you what is right and what's wrong, even though I'm so uninterested in it, I haven't actually looked at any of this stuff Gleam's talking about.
No, SC Montreal knew the exact words to throw up in the air and say exactly that. So if you're saying they're not used commonly, then are you aware that the Dirac sea was then evolved into the concept of virtual particles, which are in every single Feynman diagram that you could ever imagine? So put it this way, every single calculation done in physics that involves the Feynman diagrams based on a quantum field theory of a background dependence, that is ether. So it's commonly used in science. Virtual particles, the virtual exchange particle, virtual photon, is ether.
Now, commonly used in science is not the same as citing a very specific situation where you think that's what is involved. Because science means lots of things.
It's not a very specific situation. It's the whole of quantum physics.
Oh, can you? I'm not even interested.
I've got the citations right up there.
I don't know where we're there.
If you go on my live bit, I'm sure I'm presenting my screen still, am I? Put it this way, Paul Dirac. Just to give you the rundown of the story, Paul Dirac in 1933 won the Nobel Prize for resolving the Schrödinger wave equation with Schrödinger as well. Then later, that theoretical mathematics that he'd resolved it with was confirmed in the photography of the positron by Carl Anderson. And this set off a spout of what's known as nuclear physics nowadays, which either way, we won't go that direction. Then from there, Dirac had his own concept of a sea of electrons, which was exactly identical to the Neo-Lorentzian sea of electrons, as he thought it. Also, Fermat had a similar theory. And Feynman then used the identical concept, and all he does is invert it into a virtual particle and say, instead of us imagining this big field, even though it is a big field, and he doesn't deny it, we are going to mathematically represent it as a packet or a quanta of energy, which is borrowed from the medium and is called a virtual particle, an exchange particle. And then that covers everything. That covers magnetism, light, everything. So either way, that is used commonly in science, 100%. Yeah, as not even the Neo-Lorentzian version of on mass, because there are two versions. You obviously have a mass version and a light version, similar to how there are two equations on E = mc². Okay, so fourth question. Do you have a universally working globe Earth model? Anybody?
When you say universal, what do you mean?
Works at all scales.
What do you mean by scales?
Okay, in my eyes, there's 3 scales. There is a quantum scale, a small scale, microscopic scale. There is a macro scale, a solar system, Earth size, person size scale. And then there's a cosmic scale outside the solar system, galactic.
So do you mean by literally shrinking or enlarging the Earth?
No, I mean...
And expecting the same result?
No, have you got a working model? Because what I'm really getting at, we've touched on it before, is that at the moment, you do not have the mathematics you figured out for the heliocentric model, which is the medium scale model, does not work in the cosmological model, the big scale model.
But what does this have to do with the physical globe Earth?
Because that could be the problem. The shape of the Earth and the measurements of the assumed measurements could be wrong.
How could they be wrong?
Because you could assume the wrong mathematics. You understand when you take 2 measurements on a surface, if you assume a globe, you get far distances. If you assume a flat, you get very, very close and short distances.
Why are you only referencing situations where assumptions are made rather than direct measurements are made?
Because the direct measurement is based on your assumption, no?
No.
So what direct measurement are you talking about?
Of Earth?
Yeah, and what did you think Earth was when you did that measurement?
It doesn't matter.
What measurement? I can measure Earth with a 1 meter ruler and it's flat. This is what I'm trying to get at.
So if you want to do it wrong, then sure, you get poor results.
Well, how do you mean? Do it wrong? Put it this way: state plane surveying. Yeah, the coordinate system was first used. They switched to flat Earth and triangles due to the difficulty of the spherical Earth. Mass.
And Gleam, you asked Neg a great question. You said, what measurement? He just said the Earth. That's not a measurement. So what measurement?
He was avoiding it anyway, just throwing out any old...
Well, no, it's absurd to think that we haven't measured Earth via geodesy and all of
the
angles within geodesy or via
I'm
GPS.
Itching to know this.
Or just by, you can take zenithal angles, you can take angles to anything you can see. It's absurd, Gleam. Yeah, I'll be back though. Maybe you have a better question for me.
What do you mean?
Yeah, quick, run.
Hold up, wait. It was Gleam's question, but Paige and Gleam kind of played with Negator and let him flounder along a bit. I just want to bring it back on point to Gleam's original question of what measurement, and Negator answered the Earth, and that's where naturally Paige came in and I would come in and we'd all be like, yeah, well, what. But I think Gleam's point was the measurement itself, because Gleam brought up I could measure the Earth with a ruler. So what do you have, right? At the end he just said, well, I could do it with the theodolite and all this shit, and then ran away. But
that's it, and he has run away as well. Look, he's that's why I've put this screen on. You can see that he's deafened the stream, so he definitely didn't want to answer that question.
I think Neg realised he was being painted into a corner very quickly.
Yeah, Neg is actually smart enough to know when he's cornered, and he will not be able to get himself out of it. All he can do is say, oh, it's absurd to think we haven't measured the Earth. Well, yeah, that is absurd to think we haven't. We have measured it. It's just, what are you assuming that measurement has been done on?
Yeah.
See, I think Paige Gleam was maybe more asking which measurement in particular to prove or show what we live on, right? But either or, I would ask the same question as you, Paige.
Yeah, either or. Yep.
Anything else for us there, Gleam? Because I noticed you just knocked your screen share off.
Yeah, the final question was probably only a Globe Earth exclusive thing, which was why is the flat Earth theory not the only theory contesting mainstream physics? For example, electric universe, geocentric theory, concave Earth theory. Why multiple people switching from the standard?
Yeah, because people can see
dogma.
there's something wrong. There's just something doesn't quite add up.
And not just multiple random people. It's I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but groups or consortiums or of engineers, right? I mean, really smart people with us hanging around the outside just going, yeah, what about this? What about that? And it all comes together because I don't slap down an idea that Red the Hand has, right? No, I think about it. And so that's how all these people are coming together, I think. And they're contesting the mainstream globe Wikipedia, let's say.
Glenn, can I ask you a quick question? Did I understand correctly when you said that once you get outside of our solar system, the whole Kepler's planetary motion thing falls apart?
Yep.
But
sure does.
Ever since I got into flat Earth, I've been told, that the Earth's going around the Sun at a certain speed, and the Sun's going around the Milky Way at a certain speed, and the Milky Way's going around the Great Attractor at a certain speed, yada, yada, yada. So what you're saying is that step outside of our solar system and that all actually doesn't work?
It's mathematically, some does, some doesn't. And now the sum doesn't far outweighs the sum does.
So it's all just rubbish.
They get to a certain distance, let's say, and it's a factor of 10 out.
Which is huge.
Which is, put it this way, it's explained as, Leonard Susskind says this, if we're about a factor of 1 or a factor of 2 out, that's type of go back to the drawing board, your hypothesis is wrong.
Yeah.
Type levels. And that's why they need so much of this filling of darkness.
So the whole thing, we've got a model that works. Your model doesn't work.
It absolutely doesn't work. It can't work.
You've got an almanac. That's all you've got.
It can't even work with dark matter and dark energy. That's the problem that they have. It doesn't work even with that. So now they're coming up with other theories.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I'd really love just one last thing, which was on that very last bit of paper. And it's just 3 quotes. I'd like to cite actual scientists involved in this whole exactly what we're talking about now. And obviously I cited Richard Feynman earlier. It says, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. In that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't matter how smart you are or who made the guess or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. That's all there is to it. Okay. And then you go to modern day now, the science communicators, Fermilab, Dr. Don Lincoln, everyone would recognize him, I'm sure. He says in this video about dark matter, this result is shocking. When you see a discrepancy of this magnitude, something is very, very wrong. No small tweak in your equation will explain the differences between calculation and observation. Now, rewind 2016, Vera Rubin died. Vera Rubin was Lady Empress of dark matter. Her papers were the primary evidence, and the papers that you sought after to peer review to disprove that this thing called dark matter would exist. Now, she's put in here, we know very little about the universe, Dr. Rubin said in an interview for The Lonely Hearts of the Cosmos, the story of a scientific quest for the secret of the universe. I personally don't believe it's uniform and the same everywhere. That's like saying the Earth is flat. Now, what she's describing there is the horizon problem, where everything looks or appears, the data appears as if it's flat. However, she obviously does not believe it's uniform and the same everywhere else, even though that's what the data is saying.
Unless that was an Easter egg.
Yes and no. However, she's not going to come out. Come on, no one's going to come out. I wouldn't. If I held a respectable name, respectable job, duty, I wouldn't come out and say I was a flat Earth publicly.
Well, she didn't. But she,
no, she didn't. Exactly.
That's what an Easter egg is.
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
enough
no,
for her to
it.
say what she said, even to mention flat Earth or whatever. That's hard enough.
But it's exactly that. Any globe earther says to you, name one single scientist that have ever suggested the Earth is flat, and that's in the New York Times. So it's not as if it's hidden, or a flat earther's website.
Well, I think that's a pretty good spot to end on tonight's show. But I'm going to do some final thoughts though. So, Gleam, do you want to go ahead first with your final thoughts, seeing as you're presenting right now?
Yeah, it was just to say that I'd love to see how other people like Professor Phil, Simon Dan, and Conspiracy Cats hold up to those questions, because the very first one, completely destroys all globe Earth channels on the scene, because not one of them have ever presented their own genuine flat Earth model that works according to flat Earthers' specs, or used a flat Earthers model that they have proven to work and then disproven it to not work. Yeah. So either way, thanks a lot, Ranty. Salute to you. It's been a natter.
No worries. I like the work you put in. It's good. I did put the link in as well. I put the link in the chat some time ago. So if any
see that, people will see it on the rewind.
Yeah, they'll watch it on the rewind. F Evangelist, final thoughts there, please. Flat Earth Data, are you there? Neg's on mute. Paige, final thoughts.
No thinking here. I'm a flat earther, remember?
Okay. Right. Rakia, final thoughts.
Yeah, the thought that came into my mind was keep your chins up, because this will get worse before it gets better. And what I mean by that is the attacks, the things that we've had to deal with. We're reaching a point now where we have the arguments, we've taken control, we're doing the research, right? They're stagnant. They only have the same arguments that are not working very well. So they're moving into a mode of just discrediting, attack. And if you're not prepared for that, it can weigh on you. So just be prepared for it and battle through it, come out on top. Strong will survive. Truth always prevails, and I believe 100% we're on the side of truth. So keep going.
Cheers, Rakia there. Good Servant, thank you for the 99-cent super sticker. Much appreciated there, thank you. We've also got SE Montreal. Final thoughts?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I want to shout out Gleam. Very impressive as usual. Bro, you must have photographic memory, man. I wish I had your memory, bro. I read a lot of stuff, but I can't remember it like you do, my friend. The reason I came on, we'll do it another time. I want to discuss something with you, Gleam. Time dilation and concerning an hourglass. I think you're going to find it very intriguing. Thank you, Ranty.
Well, I'm happy to do it tomorrow, guys. I'll be going live again tomorrow, so if you...
Sure, Gleam, if you're around...
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to love this, bro. Sure, okay.
Yeah, man. Up for that.
Sounds like a plan. Right, the real Bob Dole.
Nothing really to add here.
I'm gonna follow up with the same.
Okay, so the brothers on the different side of the argument there, Torfin Fu and the real Bob Dole. Nothing to add. Right, that's good. Right, I guess that'll do, guys. Thank you very much. I'm going to say thank you to everybody that supported me in the super chats and super stickers, obviously. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Leave any comments for any of the guests if you've got anything that you found that they maybe got something wrong, or you want to challenge them on something. Leave it in the comments afterwards. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, same time tomorrow. So what are we looking at now? So it'll be another 20 hours from now, there or thereabouts. So take care, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.